One Ilshin possesses the rarest power of all, the divine fingers, with his sacred hand. Wait, actually, not that specific one. His hand is truly sacred. He possesses the divine index finger that crushes everything in its path, the divine middle finger of judgment casts spells to punish his enemies, the divine ring finger holds the power to heal wounds, both his own and those of his allies. In a world where everyone has powers, he can now be considered a god. It all begins that day Ilshin suddenly discovers that a strange new game has appeared on his phone. The moment he taps on the chest and it pops open, the screen welcomes him to the Evil God Creator game. Seconds later, an ant appears on screen, then a row of incomprehensible text appears. He figures he will just tap randomly to see what happens. To his surprise, he actually crushes the ant with his tap. Then a shiny coin pops out from the screen. The notification says, "Target crushed to death. You have obtained 1 divine coin. Congratulations." Ilshin stares at his phone in complete shock. Wait, did he actually just awaken a hunter ability? If this had happened 20 years ago, he might have checked himself into a psychiatric hospital, but times have changed. 20 years ago, spatial rifts opened. Monsters poured through them, extinction loomed. However, everything changed after humans awakened supernatural abilities. The new energy that hunters get from killing beasts became humanity's hope. Hunters are classified into various ranks from triple S rank down to G rank. Once a hunter's rank is determined, it becomes almost impossible to change. Shortly after, Ilshin arrives at the ability center to have his powers tested. The staff member smiles and congratulates him, Mr. One God. He apparently possesses an ability constitution. He is overjoyed. His mind immediately fills with fantasies of becoming a hunter surrounded by admirers. He prayed silently for at least a D rank, but his actual rank is G. He stares in disbelief. G rank, so basically, his ability is no different from an ordinary person's. Yes, registering will cost 280 grand. Ilshin thinks it over since he does not even have dungeons he can access. Why waste registration cash? That evening, he returns home feeling extremely agitated. He is about to sleep. His phone beside him starts ringing. Any drowsiness he has instantly vanishes into thin air. He picks up his phone and keeps smashing ants to vent. Before he knows it, coins scatter all over the floor. The next day, when he finally wakes up, the coins covering the floor have merged into just a small pile. However, the value displayed has changed from 1 to 100. His phone chimes. Congratulations, unknown God, you fulfilled the requirements to activate the God store. Would you like to open it? Without hesitation, he taps to open it. To activate the God shop, 100 coins are needed. He doesn't think twice and taps to use them. Then 1 coin from his bed actually disappears, but after opening the shop, all the text is in strange characters. He cannot understand a single word. Moreover, the items inside require 1 billion coins. He spent all night and only saved up 300 coins. These item prices are ridiculously unfriendly. The shop begins to refresh. The top item now only requires 100 coins. He casually taps on it. Notification: you have obtained the exclusive skill, Blind God's Eye. He scoffs at the screen. A blind god? That is just a blind person, and what use is a blind eye? But the next second, total darkness hits. His vision vanishes completely, leaving him blind. Panicking, Ilshin scrambles around, searching for his phone. Then his toe smashes into a table. The sharp pain makes him howl in agony, but instantly his sight rushes back. Shaken to the core, he steps forward and grabs his phone off the floor. Now he can actually make out the words. The screen lists various skills and items. Scrolling down, he spots a universal growth type ability called the Divine Index Finger. It claims to crush all things. He taps the screen, confirming he has obtained it. He stares down at his own hand, wondering what this power actually does. The moment he wonders, the air conditioner behind him suddenly fires up on its own. He points at the machine and mutters the words Divine Index Finger. Just like that, the power shuts off. Next, he aims his finger at the computer. It boots up instantly, so his godlike power is basically a glorified remote control. Shrugs it off, he turns back to his screen to keep squishing ants. Suddenly, a stubborn red ant appears, completely ignoring his frantic taps. No matter how fast his finger moves, the bug dodges. Seriously, this thing is built different. Convinced it is a boss, he frantically hammers the glass. But the ant keeps slipping away. Grinding his teeth, his frustration boils over. He hammers the screen so hard, his fingers begin to cramp up. Yet the insect still manages to escape, leaving him defeated and bitter. He vents by obliterating basic black ants. Soon, a notification pops up. He has exceeded 800 actions, with 200 left to earn the evil god title. By now, Ilshin is completely drained. He collapses onto his mattress. He drifts into a deep sleep while the screen glows with a new unlock. Suddenly, he finds himself sitting in a dark, empty movie theater. Up on the massive screen, a limping red ant hobbles forward with a cane. It retreats into a dark cave entrance where the colony waits. The red ant cries out that he found their fleeing food supply. But their terrifying dark tribe god attacked him, and escaping was his absolute limit. He warns they must strike first, but the other ants only mock him. Laughing, they call him a coward. How could a food god be any threat? Getting beaten up by basic prey is pathetic. They tell him he should have died. Suddenly, silence falls. An ancient, weathered ant slowly enters the cave. Stroking his whiskers, the elder claims he feels the dark god lurking close. This sacred ground belongs to their emperor, and a wicked dark deity is trespassing. The elder demands immediate execution. He places a claw on the wounded soldier. Warm energy surges forward, instantly mending the red ant's broken body. He orders the healed soldier to lead the march and hunt this evil spirit. The massive insect army roars, ready to bring death to their enemy. Suddenly, Ilshin bolts awake, sweating. What a bizarrely realistic dream about bugs. Right then, his screen chimed. That same red boss ant was back. He readies his finger to smash it, but an entire red army spawns. The lead ant screams for nature's judgment as a blinding blue light erupts. The blast shoots straight out of his phone, slicing a cut across his forehead. Inside the screen, the entire army powers up to strike him down. Subjugating an evil god is a feat worthy of a true sage, and his great merit is clear. Surely the emperor will be pleased and share the holy flesh brought back from the expedition. But in the very next moment, a blinding red light crashes down from above. Countless points of light illuminate the sky, dealing devastating blows to the ant army. Meanwhile, Ilshin is furiously smashing his phone with absolute panic. He taps the screen so violently that actual smoke begins to pour out of it. When he finally snaps out of his trance, his beloved screen is completely shattered. Coins fill the room while his screen notes 1,000 actions completed. Congratulations, you have obtained the secret evil god title of Cruel Slaughterer. Ilshin mutters speechlessly that he is a model citizen who deserves nothing like this. Suddenly, the pile of coins begins to merge, and a mysterious ring slowly rises up. He picks up the relic to examine it, catching a strange, refreshing herbal fragrance. Feeling his mind instantly clear up, he curiously slips it onto his pinky finger. A sudden rush of warm energy floods his veins, making him feel completely reborn. All his fatigue vanishes as his phone chimes, activating Blind God's Eye. The item is a druid's ring, packed with the life force of the forest. It enhances rapid growth, and he immediately wants to test it on other things. Aiming the camera at his computer, he triggers the skill, and it works perfectly. With a powerful ring and this cheat-like appraisal ability, he starts to wonder. Could his official hunter rank have gone up? He surely cannot be G rank anymore. Eager for answers, he decides to pay another visit to the local testing center. Right after he walks in, the skeptical staff member gives him a warning. The test error rate is under 1%, so are you absolutely sure about this? He nods excitedly, but the clerk warns him that only the first try is free. That will be 1,580,000. Hearing that staggering price tag, he drops into instant despair over his empty wallet. He is likely only F rank anyway, so he quickly apologizes and runs out. Getting overly hyped up by a shiny ring was a massive mistake, he realizes. Slumping onto a sofa, his screen triggers, and the results are hilarious. It is appraising absolute strangers, like a 30-year-old guy suffering from painful hemorrhoids, or a 41-year-old with kidney issues, until a distant girl catches his attention. Her name is Song Mirai, 19 years old, and listed as currently tingling. He is highly confused as to why she has a name tag and this weird condition. Before he can even stop himself, his feet begin moving toward her on autopilot. Reaching out to tap her shoulder, he awkwardly asks if she is feeling a tingle. She turns around and glares at him with absolute, pure disgust. Deadly blue lightning crackles around her hand as he frantically tries to explain himself. He begs her not to misunderstand, swearing he is not some creepy, perverted weirdo. Just as she is about to blast him, his phone rings, saving his life. He grabs it and bolts, realizing it is his sister demanding he pick up his niece. He arrives at the park and spots the little angel, who is unbelievably adorable. He genuinely wonders how his demonic sister managed to produce such a precious child. Overwhelmed by the cute sight, he cannot resist reaching out to pinch her cheeks. She stomps her tiny feet in anger, complaining that her annoying uncle needs to stop. He realizes he is in deep trouble, and fixing this mood will take real effort. It takes a whole hour to calm her down before his blind god's eye activates. Chung Yin really wants a chocolate cone, so he immediately speaks up. He asks if they should go get some, and her mouth starts watering. Shortly after, they arrive at the ice cream shop where the staff greets them. He pulls out a pile of coins, politely ordering just one chocolate cone. But the employee looks at those coins, their enthusiasm vanishing in a heartbeat. They sort the change wordlessly, handing over a pretty tiny portion of chocolate. Fortunately, Ilshin has his handy remote control ability ready to go. He unleashes his divine index finger directly on the ice cream machine. The machine dispenses ice cream uncontrollably. He asks for a bite, no. And then his phone suddenly chimes with a loud warning message. He grabs the device, seeing a terrifying title notification, Cruel Slaughterer active. This title drastically increases his combat fortune just as the ground shakes. Crimson eyes suddenly peer down from the sky as a massive beast emerges. Tearing through a spatial rift, the horned monster starts destroying everything. He grabs Chung Yin and runs for his life, but she suddenly trips. He quickly pulls her up, but the colossal horned monster is already behind them. The monster roars and lunges, forcing Ilshin to close his eyes and brace for death. Thunder storms, a young woman appears. The famous lightning girl has arrived. And yet the horned beast takes her lightning hit without a single scratch. Sparky charges up her storm power again, desperately hoping she got the beast. The monster stands right back up, proving ranked beasts are on a different level. Sparky notices them, she shields them and yells, "Run now." She warns them she cannot hold out long, and they must escape immediately. But before they can move, the horned monster strikes again with immense force. Sparky tries to gather her lightning, but her remaining energy is completely spent. The monster looms closer. She remembers her parents, swearing to eliminate these beasts. Do not think about revenge. Stop joking around. Stop it. Suddenly, a mysterious voice echoes in her mind, commanding her to crush everything. Through the divine index finger, an insane amount of power floods her body. She has never felt such a terrifying, godlike surge of strength before. Moments later, the crowd gathers around, praising the famous B-rank hunter. They cheer for the Thunder Emperor, but Sparky just stares at her hands. That power felt like crossing a boundary, leaving her wondering what just happened. Ilshin brings Chung Yin over, thanking her and saying he cannot repay her. Chung Li simply smiles, glad they are safe, before he carries the girl home. Later that evening, Ilshin stands alone, realizing the monster was targeting him. It wanted to devour his soul and steal his unique divine power. This is no coincidence, especially with the strange message left behind. The system confirms the trial is overcome, elevating his cruel slaughterer rank. As a reward, he can now obtain powerful abilities without spending coins. However, the selection is strictly limited to exclusive evil god abilities. And it is all because of this phone, just this phone. The thought makes him want to throw the annoying device right into the ocean. Suddenly, the phone chimes again, displaying a saint and some strange characters. Inside the Dark Tribe's stronghold, their saint desperately prays to the Dark God, begging for salvation. They corner her, asking if the Dark Tribe saint really thinks she can escape the Empire. She trembles with fear, begging the unnamed god to save a tiny, helpless creature like her. On the other side of the screen, he looks down at this trembling little creature. He lines up his finger, aiming right at a red ant, and taps the screen. The enemy barks that she should be grateful to become the Emperor's tribute. He keeps tapping the screen, and a prompt pops up asking for his god name. He enters the one god, and immediately he obtains a brand new title. He is now the benevolent savior, holding both evil and good titles at once. Thanks to this new title, his alignment shifts from evil straight to neutral. Since this is his first good title, the system awards him 100,000 coins. Overjoyed by this massive windfall, he quickly opens up the game shop. He spots Growth God's protection for 1,000 coins and buys it immediately. He holds the bottle, appraising the item, an ancient potion called Eternal Seeker. Description says a powerful cultivator stored his own bodily fluids inside this flask. It unlocks a mortal's full potential. He sniffs it, checking the scent. Smells normal enough, so he downs it in one gulp, then buys several more. He waits, but nothing happens. Then blackness. He completely blacks out. He collapses as his evil god synchronization rate jumps from 0 to 5%. This synchronization boost directly strengthens his exclusive godly powers. A few days later, he wakes up groggy, finding himself back in his room. He checks his phone, seeing a notification about the increased synchronization. The evil god battle arena has upgraded, but suddenly he feels something weird. He looks down at his hand, then freezes. His entire bed is crawling with ants. Panicking, he leaps out of bed and bolts for the door, only to find it locked tight. The door won't budge. Behind him, the massive swarm of ants starts biting his flesh. He thrashes around in pure agony, his eyes darting frantically toward the window. Since he is only on the 3rd floor, jumping is safe, but he slams headfirst into the glass. Knocked backward, he panics. Is he really going to die in his own room? Pure rage takes over, and he immediately activates his divine index finger skill. He squashes them, but the ant soldiers calmly fire a massive volley of arrows. The arrows pierce his skin as the lead ant laughs, mocking the unnamed monster. He boasts about his great imperial army, ordering everyone to attack the monster. They want to present his giant head to the emperor. Weakened, he falls to his knees. Gasping for air, he looks around desperately and spots his ultimate weapon. A simple can of bug spray. He grabs a lighter, turning it into a makeshift flamethrower. The ant army is completely vaporized. That, my friends, is the true power of a god. But the fire quickly spreads, and the terrifying part is that his body is totally paralyzed. Suddenly, his phone alerts him of a gift from an evil god. It is from the silently creeping nightmare, and accepting it will lock his alignment to evil. Desperate to survive, he taps accept without hesitating, but nothing seems to happen. The screen shows the nightmare's powers are currently infiltrating his own. Panicking, he desperately tries to use his divine index finger skill again. But it is completely useless. Is this really how his journey ends? Suddenly, the window shatters into pieces. He looks up and gasps, it is Sparky. He wakes up in the hospital. Chung Yun stares suspiciously. Are you really my uncle? If so, then say the password. Mom is a fart fairy chubby auntie. It really is him. Uncle, don't get sick. Play with me since Chung Yun is finally here. He laughs, but suddenly, 2 incredibly loud screams shatter the peaceful hospital room. His sister fumes with pure rage, complaining that she is busy cleaning up their entire mess. How dare you call me a chubby auntie, she snaps. Suddenly, a gentle knock sounds. Chung Yun opens the door but finds nobody, just a single flower basket on the floor. Nobody is in the hallway, leaving him completely puzzled about who could have left it. Meanwhile, Sparky stands on a nearby rooftop, quietly keeping her eyes on him. Ever since defeating the horned beast, she has been tracking this mysterious man. Being near him lets her unlock incredible power beyond her limits, after 3 days of observing. She still cannot fathom how this seemingly ordinary man triggers her hidden strength. Wait, am I acting like a stalker? Meanwhile, he secretly slips away. He must slip home before his sister notices. Suddenly, pain strikes. Those cursed ants actually targeted his vitals, and they are still tormenting him. Even in this painful condition, his phone chimes with a strange notification. The saint and her 101 followers are praying to him. They wish to offer a tribute. Do you accept? The screen asks. Honestly, you would tap accept immediately too. He confirms, and a bright glow begins. A glowing stone emerges, the rare fruit of the world tree, one of 7. It is highly beneficial for vitality. Sniffing it, he finds no scent. Immediately, he swallows the fruit. The moment it goes down, his entire body tenses up. He grimaces, seriously, who even knows what an 80-year-old outhouse tastes like? Suddenly, warmth floods him, completely healing his wounds. His phone chimes. The evil god creator has activated a brand new function. Divine grace allows him to bestow blessings on followers who offer tributes. He wonders what ants actually like, and his eyes immediately land on some white sugar nearby. In their world, the ants watch sweet sugar rain from the sky, devouring it. Their wounds heal completely and severed limbs regenerate. The great god has performed a miracle. All praise the merciful one God. His phone flashes. He has officially gained 101 true believers. He marvels that simple white sugar makes them so happy. They are adorable. Shortly after, he arrives at the busy second-hand market. searching for a trade shop. The staff welcomes him warmly when she learns he wants to trade. She politely asks him to fill out a registration form. He sits down to read. The paper asks for the item's origin. He cannot write the truth. He cannot say he got it from hunting giant ants, but he needs repair money. Suddenly, a group enters. One is a 29-year-old human male. He has underdeveloped muscles. He could probably defeat this frail guy with one single, simple punch. He wonders why his blind god eye skill keeps appraising every single person in sight automatically. The man at the counter proudly presents an exquisite suit of heavy armor, but his skill appraises it as 29-year-old scrap iron garbage. It is covered in a very crude enhancement and illusion spell. Meanwhile, the shop staff member inspects the armor closely, measuring 560 magic power units. Perfect, the rooster-headed man boasts that their products are high quality. They have full quality assurance, and he will only charge 300 million cash. The clerk hesitates. He offers to fetch the money from the vault. But then Ilshin stands up. He loudly shouts that the item is fake. He instantly regrets it. Why on earth did he decide to interfere? The three scammers freeze before a massive thug grabs Ilshin by the collar. He demands to know if this brat can take responsibility for those words. Using his divine index finger, Ilshin casually crumbles the armor into scrap metal. The giant lunges to strike, but his rooster-headed boss quickly holds him back. He steps forward and bows, apologizing to the obviously high-ranking hunter. They beg to leave, and with Ilshin's nod, the scammers quickly run off. The relieved clerk thanks him, figuring that Ilshin must be a hermit. These recluses avoid active hunter duties, choosing instead to live quiet lives. While Ilshin struggles to find an explanation, the clerk brings up the sale. He remembers his original mission and starts fumbling around for his item. The clerk carefully examines the ring, only to find its magic value is 2. Even with a generous evaluation, the clerk can only price it as a cheap D-rank accessory. Ilshin takes the ring back and secretly activates his blind god eye skill. The hidden stats reveal a druid's ring that is best gifted to Sparky. Meanwhile, Sparky watches him closely, shocked by his miraculously fast recovery. She wonders if he somehow consumed an incredibly rare, supreme-grade potion. After all, a simple G-rank hunter should never have access to such things. Perhaps he is actually an elite powerhouse, masquerading as a weakling. If he really is that strong, he might hold the key to breaking her limits. She catches herself, realizing she is behaving like a total stalker again. Her sister will definitely give her a massive earful if she gets caught. Suddenly, Ilshin approaches her from behind, wanting to give her something special. Blushing, he fumbles through his pockets and presses the ring into her palm. He begs her to accept it, then bolts off, leaving her completely stunned. Still confused, Sparky heads over to the testing center to check her stats. The researcher's jaw literally drops as they look at the incredible results. Her energy has reached 7,000, which is insane even for an rank. Sparky stares at her hands, realizing that cheap-looking ring boosted her power level. A nearby man applauds, accompanied by 2 elite high-ranking hunters. These S-rank legends include none other than Sparky's own sister, Shanga. Shanga warns Shane Li coldly not to get carried away by this growth, reminding her that she is still just in a rank. Any reckless revenge is forbidden. But internally, Shane Li apologizes, knowing she has no intention of obeying. As long as that mysterious man helps her grow, she will get her revenge. Meanwhile, Ilshin is fast asleep, dreaming of a massive ant emperor. The beast orders General Kamakiri to lead 5 million troops to crush him. The insect general bows in absolute loyalty, causing Ilshin to jolt wide awake. He sighs in massive relief, glad it was only a nightmare, but then reality hits. Every single dream he has had lately has turned into actual reality. He barely survived 100,000 ants, and now there are 50 times more. His phone chimes. A creature named Silently Creeping Nightmare sends a text. It asks if he needs power, then it calls him an immature, cowardly god. The monster demands a sacrifice, 100 humans, starting with his bloodline. He blocks the creep immediately. Suddenly, his blind god's eye activates. A projection flickers. A tiny ant inside begins to speak. "I am General Kamakiri. I will take your head and end your life." The projection vanishes. That monster is the one from his dream. Only about 3 days remain. He looks at his phone. In the other world, the saint and her followers are terrified. He must prepare thoroughly. He stands before the mirror. Ilshin attempts a self-appraisal with the blind god's eye. Finally, the system labels him fragile and timid, just great. He sits on his bed, trading for some survival items. But combining the fire with his divine finger produces nothing. Deceived again, he should have thrown that junk away. Remembering the growth god, he downs 200 potion bottles. His synchronization hits 10%. He polishes his sword. He collapses at his desk. Meanwhile, Sparky buys some gifts. Hoping for a chat, she arrives and rings his doorbell. No one answers. Then she notices the door is open. She steps inside and calls out carefully, but his room is completely empty. Wait, what? Our hero is suddenly captive in some warehouse. But since he spent all night polishing his sword 20 times, he's still fast asleep. He's dreaming peacefully, leaving his 3 kidnappers staring in confusion. He laughs in his sleep, then finally wakes up. A kidnapping, the rooster-haired thug sneers, mocking him. Ilshin completely ignores the ranting and scans the guy. The stats show a weak human with low-grade flames. These are the exact same scammers from the item shop. When he asks what they want, the leader demands heavy compensation for his ruined deal. Ilshin awkwardly tells them he does not have his phone. The skinny thug holds it up. We brought it along. Suddenly, his blind god's eye warns him the ant army is incredibly close. He panics, screaming at them to untie him quickly. Throw away the phone, but it's too late. Countless ants pour from the screen. They blanket the skinny thug, devouring him in 1 second. The remaining 2 kidnappers watch in absolute horror as their partner vanishes. The leader curses, assuming Ilshin controls them, and fires. The flames incinerate the swarm. Ilshin watches, stunned. That basic low-grade flame is incredibly destructive in his hands. He glares back, ready to make Ilshin pay. Our hero tenses up, thinking he is completely finished. Suddenly, the thug collapses. A heavy stone strikes his head. Looking down, they see the ants have built tiny catapults. The big guy tries to run, but the door is jammed. The catapults launch. Blood splatters everywhere in seconds. Even massive flames cannot stop this horde. Will he survive this? If he had known they were this terrifying, he would have ditched that phone. The general screams that his soldiers are dead, promising to crush him next. Just as she vows to turn him into monster food, his phone chimes. The screen flashes, activating minor miracle, and lightning violently strikes. Countless monsters vaporize instantly as Sparky descends majestically before him. He cheers, but the ant general fumes with rage at this disrespect. To send a mere puppet instead of fighting himself is an ultimate insult. She realizes this supposed evil god is a true monster among monsters. Ripping off her armor, the general roars in sheer fury. She vows that even if she dies here, she will take his soldier down. Sparky keeps frying them, but the swarm is too massive. Ilshin just stands there grinning, completely oblivious to the danger creeping up. The ant general chants a prayer, calling upon her blades. She begs the ancient force for power, offering her own troops as a sacrifice. Her clueless soldiers scream for their general to take cover, completely blind. But with a single cold sweep, she decapitates her entire remaining squad. Both Sparky and Ilshin just freeze, utter horror. Suffocating pressure erupts from her as the blind god's eye activates. A system warning flashes. Kamakiri aims to decapitate Sparky with 1,000 blades. Before anyone can even blink, the general lunges straight at Sparky. Sparky unleashes lightning, but the general slices right through it. She charges forward like a meteor, her blades flashing with lethal intent. A flash, Sparky collapses into a pool of blood. Rage takes over. She saved him 3 times already. The system offers to alter her fate for 100,000 divine coins. He accepts instantly. A brilliant golden light suddenly floods his vision. Using divine power to warp reality, time reverses to the critical moment. He lands right back where the general cuts through the lightning. The monster lunges. Sparky closes her eyes, bracing herself for the fatal blow. But his chains shatter completely as he leaps forward, pulling her behind him. He glares at the general with pure murder in his eyes, stunning Sparky. She watches his back, realizing he truly is her grand master. As the general mocks him, he slowly raises a single, holy middle finger. The divine middle finger completely obliterates the general in a blinding flash. While Sparky stares in absolute awe, he calmly inspects a dropped knife. He wonders what it does, but immediately drops it because it's boiling hot. Sparky removes her helmet, eagerly asking if he is the legendary hermit. She drops to her knees, begging him to accept her as his student. But he is literally just a bottom-tier hunter. Honestly, this is getting awkward. He only won because of his cheat system. He has absolutely nothing to teach. Yet Sparky refuses to leave, even hovering over him when he relaxes. Speechless, he asks how long she plans on crashing at his place. Sparky bluntly replies that she is not going anywhere until he accepts her. He helplessly protests. G rank is his limit, but she insists his ring changed everything. That simple gift gave her immense power. Now, she desperately wants to return the favor. Immediately, she carries heavy bags of cement to rebuild his dilapidated home. She works fast. Soon, his run-down place gets a complete transformation. Pristine, feeling grateful, he decides to treat her to a quick meal. But duty calls. An emergency alert suddenly flashes on Sparky's phone. No time to eat. She grabs her helmet, but he stops her first. He pulls out a bottle of Growth God's protection for her journey. She offers her thanks and instantly flies away. He heads out alone. At a nearby restaurant, a breaking news alert flashes on the television. Terror strikes. S-rank monster Tra has appeared and is leveling the city. One lone hunter is fighting back, barely buying civilians time to run. This brave warrior holding Tra off is the B-rank Thunder Empress. Meanwhile, Sparky rescues a civilian and bravely stands her ground. Facing an S-rank monster is terrifying. Still, she cannot back down. No hesitation, Sparky leaps into the air as the monster strikes. Lightning explodes. Tra takes the direct hit and falls completely silent. Victory, the reporter announces that the beast has been successfully defeated. The crowd cheers wildly. Sparky smiles, believing the battle is finally won. But watch out, a massive tentacle whips from the dust, striking her. She crashes down, completely knocked out of commission by the hit. Helpless, her eyes land on the Growth God's protection potion beside her. Tra roars, charging the crowd. Desperate, she chugs the magic liquid. Instant recovery. Sparkling waves of raw electricity surge through her body. She wields power to tear through reality. Watch this next move. 1 billion volts erupt, instantly vaporizing the S-rank monster. Later, a reporter interviews her. Sparky excitedly waves at the camera. She claims her master's potion saved the day. The video goes viral. 2 million views, yet this famous star is currently slurping cheap noodles. He suggests she head home before her parents start to worry. Nobody cares, she mutters. He awkwardly tries to comfort her. He points out that any parent would worry about a lovely daughter. Quietly, she reveals they both died in the falling dragon disaster. A massive tragedy. Millions of people perished to slay that beast. Instantly regretful, he covers his mouth in deep, burning shame. To apologize, he slides his own black bean noodles her way. She beams. Suddenly, a strange notification flashes on his phone screen. Mission success. He has fully maxed out her affection and trust. Triggering the next secret keyword will officially unlock the power of faith. The target keyword is simple: believe in the one God. He scoffs. This is not some virtual dating game, but he stops himself. What if activating this actually rewards him with massive divine coins again? With the ant threat looming, he needs every single coin possible. He clears his throat, asking her to repeat a short phrase. He hesitantly asks her to say, believe in the one God. He admits it feels too forced and apologizes for saying such weird things. She suddenly proclaims her absolute belief in him, causing his phone to buzz. The notification says faith is successfully generated from Xiang Miri. She is officially his first follower on Earth, unlocking skill sharing. He can now borrow her power, but he immediately gets incredibly furious. He furiously rants about this stupid game not giving him coins, wanting to delete it. Sparky stares in sheer confusion as a portal opens right behind her. A horde of ants crawls out, hauling heavy treasure chests. They want peace, but he is completely oblivious, solely focused on testing his massive lightning storm. Raising his hand, he decides to activate the skill sharing system. Instantly, a devastating storm of lightning erupts. The blast blows his roof off and instantly fries the ant army. Sparky looks at him with excitement, thrilled that he can use lightning too. She praises his awesome lightning powers, while he stands there crying inside. He has no tears left for his newly repaired house, but in the ant world. The Ant Emperor finds out his delegation was wiped out. Fueled by pure rage, he deploys his elite army to crush him. Meanwhile, Ilshin watches Sparky run her laps. She finishes 100 laps, and he hands her some growth protection. It tastes like a basic drink to him, but it works wonders. Since he already decided to take her as his disciple, he wants to support her. But potions are all he has, so she asks for her next task. He tells her to do squats first, while planning to use the blind god's eye. He hopes this divine appraisal will show him how to conduct her training. But as appraisal begins, the system alerts him. He is suddenly pulled straight into the incredibly empty corners of her deepest subconscious mind. A blinding light flashes right before him. A massive lightning tiger, bound by heavy chains, stands before him. And get this, Sparky is actually a legendary S-rank hunter, sealed away for 10 long years. His divine index finger briefly cracked her seal. Breaking those heavy iron chains is the ultimate key to releasing all her hidden power. He strikes the links, but only chips off a tiny piece. He can only break a tiny bit at a time, so he eventually bids her farewell. He returns home to his messy, roofless house, feeling extremely troubled. Suddenly, his phone rings with notifications. Creeping Nightmare watches him sadly, while all-slaying Heavenly Blade looks furious. He wonders if this deity is the actual owner of that fruit knife. But all-slaying Heavenly Blade immediately snaps back, claiming it is a sacred god-slaying weapon. He scoffs at the claim, but a weird realization hits him. Wait, can these stalkers actually read his thoughts, because now there are two. Nightmare begs for an unblock, wanting mercy. This constant pestering on his screen makes him lose his temper. He snaps at them both, shouting that he literally almost died just getting that divine sword. Heavenly Blade quickly offers a trade if he returns the weapon. He will get back the offering of 2,200,000 coins. He curses angrily, calling Ilshin truly despicable for flaunting stolen money. Silently creeping Nightmare mockingly offers a massive fortune for the divine sword. 10 million divine coins is the price, and Ilshin is instantly tempted. That cash could buy low-tier omnipotence items and potions for Sparky. This tempting offer makes the all-slaying Heavenly Blade feel extremely uneasy. Seeing his hesitation, silently creeping Nightmare mocks him as a beggar. Angered by this, the all-slaying Heavenly Blade offers to grant him its authority. The blade wastes no time demonstrating what this authority can actually do. Zenith of the Sword, an elite power that leaves no master a match. He totally agrees, honestly, who doesn't dream of wielding a legendary sword? Silently creeping Nightmare laughs mockingly, demanding he accept its authority instead. This secondary authority is known as the rose that blooms at night. Under this dark power, any enemy can be subdued with zero effort. Instantly scheming, Ilshin asks if they want to raise their bids. Moments later, he walks away with Zenith of the Sword and plenty of cash. That is 2,200,000 divine coins and 3 treasury keys. Plus the rose that blooms at night, leaving him incredibly pleased. Since the treasury is limited to 3 uses, he must save it. First things first, he decides to test out the other 2 shiny new abilities. He sits down and shouts rose that blooms at night, but absolutely nothing happens. His phone buzzes, revealing this nightmare skill only activates while he is fast asleep. He yells in disbelief at a skill that only triggers while sleeping. Seriously, how is he even supposed to know what this power does? He feels like an absolute fool, so he tries Zenith of the Sword instead. Still nothing, which makes him angry enough to cause 3 years of constipation. Suddenly, a notification pops up, confirming Zenith of the Sword is finally active. Suddenly, he uncontrollably mutters that he is going to cut everything down. The small kitchen knife in his hand begins radiating an eerie, dark energy. Talk about weird side effects, he literally licks the blade and bolts. Bursting into the neighboring diner, he frantically starts chopping green onions. After preparing 100,000 green onions, he stumbles home completely exhausted. He complains bitterly about a sword technique that mind controls people. Luckily, nothing bad happened, and he soon drifts off. As he sleeps deeply, a massive ant army quietly invades his rooftop. Spotting their target, they swarm forward, but a bizarre rose sprouts from his chest. The massive blossom suddenly splits open, swallowing the entire ant force whole. It snaps shut as a chilling voice warns lowly creatures of their blooming nightmare. The terrified mother mosquito instantly recognizes the legendary, horrifying nightmare flower. 3,000 years ago, it wiped out 90% of the population. They called it the sinful calamity god, the nightmare's supreme apostle. Steeling herself, the mother mosquito commands her troops not to fear. She declares this day will make history, then boldly charges at the flower. Inspired, the remaining ants join the assault, but their attacks do absolutely nothing. In the blink of an eye, the terrifying plant devours every last insect in sight. Horrified, the mother mosquito screams that although she cannot defeat this evil, she will try. If she is going down, she is taking the calamity god's flower apostle with her. She unleashes her ultimate, desperate strike, but the massive rose is already waiting. The rose devours her ultimate move in a single bite. The mother mosquito watches in horror. She stands frozen in disbelief before the rose devours her too. Meanwhile, he finally wakes up. He feels incredibly bloated and sluggish as he groggily reaches for his phone on the table. The screen shows the saint and her followers desperately begging him for aid. He immediately activates the blind god's eye to see what kind of mess they got into. The entire group was poisoned by the bee clan. He can only sigh. Did they really poke a beehive just to get some honey, he wonders. He opens his computer to search for ant poison cures, but his phone buzzes. Because of the one god's deep concern for his believers, a miracle option has unlocked. For believers, miracles are the entire meaning behind a god's existence. Depending on the chosen path, they will either worship him or fear him. Unfortunately, activating a simple healing miracle costs a hefty 100,000 divine coins. He does not even hesitate. He clicks confirm immediately. Heart of the World Tree's energy that he absorbed will serve as the miracle's fuel. That should keep them alive, but right after casting it, a heavy wave of exhaustion hits him. Before he can even process the tiredness, he falls right back into a deep sleep. Meanwhile, his phone alerts him that his title has upgraded to Benevolent Savior. His rank rises from E- to D, shifting his alignment from evil to neutral. Now other benevolent deities are starting to notice him. Particularly the goddess of endless abundance. Back down on the ant world, hope is fading. The saint and her people stand with pale faces, desperately praying for a miracle. Suddenly, a single raindrop falls. Then, a massive downpour begins. The rain instantly washes the deadly poison right off their bodies, saving them all. The saint stands and shouts that the one God has delivered them once again. To repay him, they must offer their absolute, unwavering faith and create a holy sacrifice. Back in the real world, an unknown amount of time passes before he finally wakes up. He is still groggy when he notices Sparky standing right there in his room. She came to check on him since he missed training, then points out a weird statue. He looks at the table. It is the statue the Dark Tribe crafted to honor him. Out of pure gratitude, they tried to recreate his likeness, but it is incredibly ugly. He mutters in disbelief, asking what on earth that hideous monstrosity is. But Sparky smiles and says it is just like him, it grows on you over time. When she asks to keep it, he simply waves her off and tells her to take it. Once she leaves, he gets ready to relax, but his phone suddenly buzzes. The World Tree Sapling is gravely ill and will completely wither in 24 hours. He quickly tries using the growth god's protection, but the system rejects it. That tree saved him before. If he can nurse it back to health, he can sell its fruits. Desperate, he digs deep into the divine shop to find any possible cure. He finally spots a potential solution: tears of endless abundance. The catch: only people officially certified as good by the goddess can purchase it. Buying it triggers a special quest, which leads him straight to the streets. He is forced to pick up random cigarette butts just to save his precious tree. After a grueling cleanup session, his goodness rating only increases by a measly 1%. He still needs 99% more to finish the quest. Suddenly, a voice rings out. Someone asks what he is doing on their turf. He turns to see a muscular man. It is a homeless man. He recalls that street people can be fiercely territorial. To avoid any trouble, he quickly pulls out a $1 bill and hands it over. But the homeless man explodes with rage, shouting that he has got serious nerve. How dare he offer pocket change to Choi Gangan? Then it clicks, this is an S rank. Hunter who used to be a trash collector, Choi Gangan snatches the dollar. He says since it is offered with sincere respect, he will graciously take it. The young man checks his phone in confusion. He just did a good deed, right? So why is his goodwill meter stuck? He watches Choi Gangan chug alcohol. He wasted his charity on a common drunkard. Of course his stats did not budge. Annoyed, he calls the S-rank a grandpa. Instantly, Choi Gangan snaps back in anger. He demands to know who he is calling old. the boy quickly pulls out a plastic bag. He politely asks the man to place his empty bottle inside, calling him Big Brother. The sudden shift to Big Brother works wonders. Choi Gangan immediately beams with pride. Suddenly, an emergency siren blares nearby. A deadly monster has just breached the area. The kid tries to bolt, but Choi Gangan catches him in a lightning-fast grip. With a massive leap, they soar high into the air. He looks down, utterly terrified. The sheer height almost stops his heart. Within seconds, they land near an abandoned factory. By now, poor Ilshin has already passed out cold. When Choi Gangan lets him go, the boy drops to the dirt. Ahead looms a giant toad monster. Choi Gangan mutters that tonight's snack is sorted. He charges straight at the beast, but right then, the boy's system alerts him. It detects massive, lethal intent directed right at the master of the system. In response, the dark nightmare flower bursts forth directly from his body. The terrifying plant unleashes its giant maw, snapping at both the toad and Choi. In one swift motion, the massive nightmare flower gulps both of them down. Meanwhile, inside a dreamlike space, he finds himself standing in a mystical forest. He rises, only to spot a mysterious figure clad in pure white standing ahead. He nervously steps forward, asking where they are. The figure removes their hat. They welcome him back, calling him their great and merciful god. He stands frozen. Suddenly, giant cracks shatter the vision. He is instantly yanked back to reality. He opens his eyes to find Choi Gangan covered in absolute slime and filth. The S-rank is crying for his mother, traumatized by the giant flower that ate him. Ilshin gags, wondering why it smells like they fell straight into an outhouse. Just then, his phone alerts him that an evil god's subordinate has been slain. He has saved the day and completed the goodwill quest. For his reward, he receives a legendary item called the Tears of Endless Abundance, the magic water. Instantly triggers to restore his dying world tree sapling. He is absolutely thrilled. He will soon harvest world tree fruits and become unbelievably wealthy. More alerts pop up. He successfully revived the tree, paving the way for the Dark Tribe's grand return. To show their endless gratitude, the members of the tribe have sent him a gift. It is a statue of their supreme god. After sending Choi Gangan to the hospital, he finally heads home. Staring at the weird statue on his desk, he is completely speechless. How does this thing look anything like him? His phone buzzes again. Since the statue looks exactly like him, his connection with those tiny creatures begins to grow. His empathy with the ants inside the game world just hit 10%. Then, a new notification pops up. The screen calls him their great and merciful god. He stares down, completely stunned by this wild reality. Texting with bugs was never on his bucket list. Then, a second desperate notification displays. They beg him to save their dying tribe, currently being slaughtered by savage monsters. Staring down at the tiny, injured insects on his screen, his anger begins to boil over. He demands to know who did this to them and shouts for answers. Ordering the survivors, he wants to go straight to the beasts and crush them. Hearing his declaration, the little creatures burst into overwhelming tears of absolute gratitude. He tells them to lead the way, but because they are tiny, they move incredibly slow. After a tedious march, the guide bugs suddenly freeze in sheer terror. He quickly zooms in. He pinches his screen to get a closer look, but what he spots makes him instantly freeze. It is a massive, crawling swarm of cockroaches. They are actually summoned beasts. Their terrifying trait lets them double every hour. He instantly spins around to run. He flees at top speed, while the guide bugs panic and scramble to escape the swarm. Desperate to escape, the bugs scatter, but their saintess tells everyone to hold strong. She points right behind them, shouting that their protective god has always been standing right there. But as she turns to face him, all she sees is their god running away at full speed. She cannot believe her own eyes. The remaining tribe members watch their savior flee. They weep in total despair, crying out that their god has completely abandoned them to die. Convinced they are doomed, they cry out, yet soon he finds dead roaches. Luckily, his intense hatred for roaches meant he kept tons of bug poison handy. The little ants are busy clearing the field and executing any survivors. They stomp out any bugs still struggling to breathe. He looks down at his screen. He watches the depressed saintess in total confusion, asking why she is so upset. They already won the battle. At his words, she completely breaks down in heavy tears. She sobs, apologizing for daring to doubt his holy plan, even for a split second. Believing she is unworthy of serving him, she begs for execution. He tries to comfort her. But right then, a flashing system notification pops up on his mobile screen. He has unlocked the requirements to earn a unique skill called the Divine Thumb of Multiplication. Tapping quickly to claim it, he reads the ridiculous description with a sigh. It is just as cringy and over the top as before. Before he can even test it out, his online match texts him to meet up. She wants to meet in person, but when he arrives, he gets a massive surprise. His date is actually a grown man. Completely stunned, he plans to get a free meal. He will eat his fill and then bolt, but the guy just keeps staring intensely. Suddenly, the guy asks when they are getting married. He stammers, desperately seeking an excuse. Realizing he is stalling, the man slams the table and calls him a complete scumbag. He demands to know if marriage was ever the plan, before he can even explain. His phone rings. A fresh alert says more monsters are marching toward his tribe. The system asks if he wants to use his new power to multiply his forces. He taps the button without hesitation. Seeing him play a game, the angry guy snaps. Standing up, the guy delivers a brutal slap right across his face. Meanwhile, downstairs, the tiny ant warriors stand ready in battle lines. The saintess stands high above. She raises her hands to shout toward the heavens, "Great God, we will soon triumph." Eliminate all the beasts. Quickly, his phone alerts him that he slayed the god of destruction's beasts, earning 300 million divine coins, walking alone down the street after a brutal struggle. He successfully defended his dignity. Suddenly, his phone buzzes with news. Endless Abundance wants to sponsor him as a reward for ranking as a benevolent savior. As the one god, he can choose any skill with all costs. Fully covered, naturally, he goes big. Choosing the ultimate option, he selects Heaven and Earth Creation, an exclusive power of the super moon god, priced at 1 followed by 100,000 zeros. But the screen flashes. As the one god, he is nowhere near meeting the requirements. The game quickly adapts to his current level, stripping the power down to a temporary, single-use skill. He now has a single use of false heaven and earth creation. Instantly, the world shifts. That night, imagine looking up to see this absolute madness. A second moon has appeared right next to the original. Since he was hammered on cheap booze, he passes out the second he taps the screen. Waking up hungover, he sits on the steps. Training Sparky, she clocks 500 laps in a mere 5 minutes. He tells her to hold a plank next. This is his ticket back into Sparky's mindscape. He warns her not to move a muscle, then triggers Blind God's Eye, once inside Sparky's mind. The massive lightning tiger has lowered her guard. Using his divine index finger, he shatters the bindings. Plenty of chains still remain. But she is mostly free now. She lovingly licks his face. Back in reality, he tests her strength. The results do not disappoint. Sparky cheers, realizing this training actually works. Excited, she dashes off to run another 200 laps while his phone buzzes. The ant saintess wants a name. He figures a real name is much better than just calling her saintess all the time. Your name is Little White. The saintess cries tears of joy. Now everyone wants one. But naming hundreds of bugs would take eternity. So he simply numbers them one by one. Heading back home, his phone suddenly alerts him that his loyal ant tribe has evolved into the Gi tribe, fueled by his divine naming and recent battle experience. They actually look quite adorable because his Gi tribe just evolved. His own godly level rises to level 2. This milestone unlocks civilization renaissance. He jumps in to help. The ants build sturdy walls, training grounds, and fertile farmland. The saintess, Little White, gathers the colony, urging everyone to witness the grand miracle of their creator, demanding they all bow in worship. Watching this play out, he finds these ants pretty adorable. He taps a new mark icon. Instantly, an ominous tower radiating dark, corrupted energy appears. The Tower of Warriors. Only the bravest can challenge this tower. A grim warning states the survival rate is only 1 in 10,000. Seeing this, the ant tribe falls into sheer panic. To fix this, he has to smash down the walls, sealing off the tower entrance. He issues a stern warning to never let curiosity drive them inside. Nearby, a lone ant looks down at its tiny hands, remembering past struggles. Back when the tribe faced total destruction, it desperately wished for more power. Now staring at the massive tower, the little creature makes a vow. Meanwhile, back at the ant empire, the emperor is absolutely furious. His elite cockroach vanguard completely failed to wipe out the rival dark god. Losing his temper, the ant emperor raises a hand and crushes the messenger. He roars at his court, calling them a pathetic waste of space. Must he really do everything himself? Right then, a soft voice speaks up. Begging His Majesty to stay calm, a cunning spider spirit steps forward. She offers to handle this minor issue while the Emperor prepares to ascend. To the divine realm, that is, she promises to personally crush them. Their evil god will be destroyed, even if she must die trying. Next up is the Mosquito King, a horror that can drain zombies dry. Having just finished its latest meal, it watches a shadowy figure approach. The spider spirit arrives, holding a dark artifact known as the Cursed Needle. Handing it over, she commands the bloodsucker to hunt down the rival god. The mosquito sneers, craving a taste of that divine blood. The spider spirit shrugs, letting the beast do as it pleases. Attaching the weapon, the mosquito secretly plots to steal that power. Once it drains the target, it plans to betray the Ant Emperor himself. Meanwhile, back in the human world, Ilshin is aggressively flaming his teammates. He taps into 20 years of pure keyboard warrior reflexes to argue. Defending his online pride, he keys in furious, rapid-fire insults. After winning the chat war, he checks his phone to monitor the ants. They all seem asleep, but then he spots a tiny pebble shaking. Unbelievably, a single ant steps up and lifts the entire heavy rock. This little guy is number 1, a dedicated warrior of the Jami tribe. He is training to protect his people, making our main character scratch his head. Deciding to help, he drops a bottle of Growth God's protection down. Number 1 is absolutely overwhelmed with joy, practically crying tears of gratitude. Pleased with himself, Ilshin returns to fighting trolls online, totally oblivious. He has no idea a giant mosquito is lurking right outside his window. Slipping inside, the bug lands on his forehead and bites him. He slaps it away, complaining about bugs flying around so late in winter. But suddenly an unnatural, freezing chill sweeps over his entire body. With a massive sneeze, he shoots out an 8-meter stream of mucus. Grossed out, he rushes to the bathroom to clean himself up. Looking in the mirror, he notices a strange black seal on his forehead. His divine eye reveals it's the mark of the plague bearer. Activating a chilling curse, no time for that, the game is waiting. Suddenly a fever curse hits him, fast and hot. Followed immediately by intense muscle pain and anemia, forcing him to search the store. He finds Huada's remedy and slams the purchase button right away. A mission notification pops up, and in sheer despair, he immediately decides to drag himself to the hospital. Meanwhile, inside the hospital, a suspicious-looking man is furtively scanning his surroundings. He is a follower of an evil god, utterly brainwashed to serve only his dark master. His sick goal is to launch a devastating suicide attack as a direct sacrifice to this entity. Just as things get tense, Ilshin finally manages to crawl his way inside. Clinging to life, he drags himself across the floor under the weight of a ridiculous quest. The system clearly wants him dead, handing him an impossible task. He has to save 100 humans with sincere devotion, which sounds like a total joke. Right then, the cultist grabs a nurse hostage, brandishing a live detonator in his hand. He screams at everyone to freeze while Sparky stands right opposite him, ready to strike. Our main character watches the whole showdown unfold in complete confusion. The cultist spots the dark mark on Ilshin's forehead, assuming he's an accomplice. He immediately yells at him to help offer up these sweet sacrifices. Hearing this lunatic babble makes Sparky absolutely lose her mind with rage. She screams at the attacker to shut up, telling him he's targeting the wrong guy. That man is her respected teacher, but the bald cultist isn't buying it. He points out that the dark skull symbol on the teacher's head is their signature mark. Believing he's a secret agent sent by Mr. John, the cultist activates his unique eyes. He instantly reads the terrorist's memories, seeing a mysterious, purple-haired figure. The figure tells the bald man to spread sheer terror before slaughtering everyone. All of this was designed to feed the destructive god with massive sacrifices. Peeking into these memories makes Ilshin realize just how bad this situation is. Suddenly, the bald man roars out to his god and prepares to end it all. With a thumb ready to press the trigger, Ilshin quickly extends his finger. He readies his ultimate move, the all-crushing divine index finger. The cultist presses down, but our tired hero yells to Sparky that now is the time. The bald man clicks the trigger again and again, staring down in absolute disbelief. Nothing happens in that split second of sheer terror on the villain's face. Sparky unleashes her devastating lightning without a shred of mercy. The sheer voltage fries him instantly, completely shutting down his body. He drops to the cold floor, completely blacked out. But right before he goes under, a chilling voice triggers the necrosis curse. In a daze, his soul drifts into a massive, empty void. An ominous voice booms, calling him a newly born infant god who forced its hand. It promises to show him the endless horrors of death and raw agony. Instantly, several colossal demons, towering hundreds of feet tall, materialize. But as he stands frozen, the massive nightmare flower sprouts right behind them. The plant swallows those terrifying monsters whole in a single, massive bite. A screen flashes, mission complete, with the rescue requirements completely exceeded. The master of the medicinal book is highly impressed by his heroic actions. He is rewarded with a rare Watada pill and suddenly snaps back to reality. Feeling a strange round pill in his mouth, he swallows it instinctively. Instantly, all of his exhausting injuries and pain completely vanish. To top it off, a massive surge of divine power merges directly into his soul. While a massive crowd mobs Sparky for autographs, Ilshin quietly slips away. Back home, Ilshin relaxes on his bed, amazed by Hatata's miracle pill. Suddenly, his phone buzzes with a desperate notification, signaling a new play. The screen displays a desperate apology from the warrior to the one god. He begs for more of the divine medicine previously bestowed upon him. Ilshin sits up instantly. What happened? He sees number one trembling. The long-haired warrior knows he must overcome these incredibly brutal trials. He has to protect his tribe. A heavy door slowly opens, letting in light. With a determined look, Ilho prepares to challenge the heroic tower. This first floor is known as the legendary Trial of the Rock. The conditions are clear. He must survive to reach the second floor. Thanks to Ilshin's special drink, he levels up, becoming a soldier. The hero feels incredibly confident he will succeed, but disaster strikes. A massive boulder strikes him head-on, sending him tumbling down the stairs. Crushed beneath the giant stone, the young hero groans in terrible agony. With tears in his eyes, he cries out to Ilshin in defeat. Ilshin watches apprehensively as his brave summon is crushed like an ant. He wonders if the boy is badly hurt when a timer suddenly appears. Only 10 minutes remain to complete the activities. Ilshin tries divine growth. But the spell completely fails. There are only 7 seconds left. Suddenly, he gets an idea. He remembers his master of the blue sky reward. He can spend 100 coins to buy the unique divine healing skill. A prompt appears, asking the young man to confirm his purchase. With only 3 seconds remaining, Ilshin activates the legendary ability. A green aura descends, instantly restoring the fallen warrior's life force. Ilho stands up. He is conscious again, looking around with deep emotion. He looks toward Ilshin with tearful gratitude, but Ilshin scolds him. Warning him about the dangerous tower, he orders the hero to leave immediately. But the exit is locked. A system notice explains escape is impossible. They must clear the 50th floor first, leaving Auntie feeling absolutely desperate. Recommended items for the Eternal Tower suddenly flash before the protagonist's eyes. Our hero is trapped, and just like that, someone knocks loudly. Ilshin quickly downs a small potion and tells the warrior to wait. He promises to be right back and heads over to answer the door. Cracking it open, he spots a sharp-looking stranger wearing a tailored suit. "Are you Hunter Ilshin?" the formal visitor asks very politely. He introduces himself as Kim Taman, recruitment manager for the Brilliant Guild. Requesting a brief talk, the recruiter receives a slightly hesitant, nervous agreement. Meanwhile, our brave hero confronts the harsh trials of the Eternal Tower. Ilho handles the hardships of the Eternal Tower with great fortitude. The crystal atop the stairs glows scarlet as Ilho concentrates his energy. Suddenly, another gigantic boulder rolls down directly toward him, fast. But the hero prepares a powerful punch, ready to shatter the stone. He shatters the stone, absolutely amazing. It was with bare fists. Notification announces that Challenger Ilho has passed the judgment of Rock. The hero will now receive the blessing of Rock as his reward. Meanwhile, Ilshin gets a salary offer of $3 million a year. The recruiter asks him to visit the guild headquarters to sign the contract, but the young hunter just stands there in absolute silence. He is too shocked to even move a muscle. He realizes that with this much cash, all his worries would vanish. He could eat well and buy endless gifts for his beloved nephew. The young man is so incredibly hyped that He completely misses the catch. All monster hunting rewards will be split 7 to 3. The recruiter asks in a cold, serious voice if Ilshin is even listening. Snapping back, the boy apologizes. Suddenly, a screen pops up, identifying new target. It is Kim Taman, 34 years old, holding some highly suspicious powers. Kim insists that he won't find a better deal anywhere else, but Ilshin quickly realizes this guy is trying to scam him, making him pretty irritated, especially since his potential opponent is massive compared to him, making a fight quite a difficult challenge. Kim asks if there is some kind of problem, and the young hunter quickly replies that he has been way too busy lately, so maybe it is best to pass on this offer. In a creepy voice, the giant asks if he did not like the terms, trying to force his hand. The man says that what he will earn from his manuscript is not even 1/100th of this contract. Ilshin calmly explains that he does not do his job for cash, and Kim fake apologizes, but as the giant stands up, he says his boss ordered them to bring the boy in no matter what, so he needs to come along right now. Ilshin tries to buy time, claiming he needs to use the restroom, adjusting his glasses. Kim does not look convinced by the excuse, but he shrugs and lets him go. The young man rushes inside, frantically thinking about his next move. He recalls the system alert. On Kim, the guy is labeled as a god of destruction, but then Ilshin remembers something crucial. The dangerous terrorist back at the hospital had the exact same label. Gripping his phone, he wonders who to call. Maybe the Hunters Association or even the police, but out of nowhere, a deadly beam of light blasts right through the bathroom door. Kim steps through the broken doorway, demanding to know who Ilshin is calling. The kid watches this unfold in absolute horror. Seriously, he is totally screwed now. With a dark glare, Kim repeats his question, demanding to know who he is calling, trying to make up an excuse. The boy says he was just dialing his publisher, but before he can even blink, a massive shockwave of energy blasts from Kim. The strike hits him directly, throwing him backward into the hard wall. The massive giant steps closer, saying that making phone calls is completely out of the question. He calmly claims he just needs to beat him completely unconscious to drag him away. As Kim violently squeezes Ilshin's neck, the boy struggles to breathe. Kim sneers, asking if it hurts, mockingly adding that cooperating from the very start would have saved him from all this intense pain. If he stays still, it will hurt less. The young man slowly starts to lose consciousness, but a sudden flashing notification catches his fading vision. He is assigned a critical mission to save Sunung Miri from certain death. Meanwhile, Kim is quite impressed by how long the boy is holding out. In reality, Ilshin knows the massive gap in their raw physical strength is just too vast. But suddenly, a message from the great god flashes in his vision as Ilho shouts that he will lend him his muscles using their special power-sharing ability. The young hunter, his clan lends their strength, sharing the incredible steel body technique. This makes the protagonist feel far stronger and much more durable, even with Kim's hand gripping his neck. Ilshin realizes he now possesses Ilho's powers. Suddenly, the giant notices a massive shift in the kid. He is choking as an overwhelming energy erupts, forcing Kim's hand right off his neck. The man realizes this skill builds raw muscle mass, making the boy truly worthy of the guild leader's interest. Kim admits he was initially disappointed, since the assigned mission seemed pretty easy. But it looks like he was wrong. He loudly announces to everyone that playtime is officially over. Raising his hand, he gestures for the battle to finally begin. Without wasting a single second, Ilshin launches a fierce attack. The giant barely dodges, realizing the kid's strikes are incredibly heavy, yet he's solely focused on offense with zero defense. It is dead obvious that the boy is a complete amateur, which honestly bores Kim. Suddenly, the young fighter grabs the giant's head with both hands. He squeezes hard, landing a devastating blow that instantly knocks out several of the thug's teeth. Screaming in pain, Kim doubles over, but Ilshin is not done yet. He winds up another devastating strike, unleashing a punch so massive it completely shatters the floor below. With his steel body power still active, our hero surveys the absolute wreckage. But as he stands there, he suddenly remembers he needs to call Miri. Desperate, the boy tries calling, but a system prompt suddenly halts him, warning that running the Believer management system will cost a massive amount of coins. Without a second thought, Ilshin happily agrees to pay the price. The moment he pays, the system begins tracking down Sun Miri's location. Pale face appears, framed by long dark hair. her blood-stained sword shows. Brutal battle occurred, an enemy grips the hilt, and a trail of blood drops from its tip. It is the dreaded sword demon, telling his helpless victim not to worry because she will feel zero pain. A status profile suddenly pops up and Sun Miri lies defeated on the ground, calling her merciless attacker teacher. The demon coldly raises his blade. A sickening slash echoes through the air. A quest achievement screen appears. Ilshin realizes that Miri has been brutally defeated by a mysterious foe. Suddenly, a warning predicts a terrible, catastrophic future for the poor girl. This dark vision has not happened yet. But the remaining time is incredibly short. A prompt asks if he wants to alter the girl's tragic destiny with godly powers. Now watch closely because, as he reviews the culprit's data, Ilshin sees the demon is utterly obsessed. With swords turning back to his computer, a memory sparks. He pulls open a drawer. Retrieving a small dagger, he prepares to rewrite fate, spending 100,000 coins to initiate the process. Now, the skill's benevolent savior and second chance merge to spark an absolute miracle. A dazzling glow erupts right in front of our hero. Far away, Miri lies defenseless as the demon approaches. She simply cannot comprehend why she is being attacked. Her cold-blooded enemy calmly explains he has no personal grudge against her. He is just doing his job. Suddenly, his icy eyes narrow, sensing a sudden disturbance in the air. Darting back with insane speed, he narrowly avoids a devastating blow. The killer was nearly caught off guard by a stealth attack he barely perceived. With a look fueled by pure rage, Ilshin suddenly appears, saying he wants to slice. Marie freezes and she immediately recognizes the young man. In a chillingly dark voice, Ilshin declares he wants to rip the demon to pieces. Ever since the demon chose the path of the sword, he has crushed countless foes. Raising his blade, the warrior asks if Ilshin aligns with the storm, fully confident that he has already destroyed the strongest master alive with his unmatched blade, but still he cannot figure out who this strange kid is. His eyes glow red, yet he holds only a dull butter knife. The demon readies his weapon, staring him down, believing his opponent is a total fool to think that tiny blade can stop him. In that case, this will be too easy. His deadly strike sweeps dangerously close to Ilshin's throat, leaving a glowing purple trail. He expects a quick victory if the kid even manages to dodge, but Ilshin just smiles and grips his tiny knife tightly. In a flash, he blocks the massive sword with that ridiculous little utensil. The tension in the air spikes instantly, and the demon finds it completely absurd. He finally realizes he underestimated his foe. The weight his strikes can cut solid rock like soft tofu. This time, there is no blocking. The next attack lunges straight at Ilshin with massive force. Yet he deflects it completely effortlessly. The deflected strike slams hard into the wall behind him. The demon watches in total shock, growing frantic. He unleashes a relentless barrage of strikes, desperate to land just one hit. Ilshin just keeps repeating that he wants to cut things, effortlessly blocking every blow. The demon senses the power of the storm, but finds it highly suspicious that such a powerful hunter is not registered with the government, since the boy is an absolute nobody. It explains why he has been completely hidden until now. Pulling out a strange vial, the demon decides to unleash his secret weapon. Gulping down the liquid, he expects to finish this annoying fight in one shot. The liquid goes down. Instantly, the demon's body begins to mutate. His eyes go vacant. He grows massive, screaming in pure agony. Suddenly, a strange sigil burns onto his face. He quickly assumes a battle stance, sword ready. Ilshin's face remains totally calm, and the young man quietly repeats that he just wants to slice everything. Without a moment's hesitation, the demon charges. His empty eyes glow with a dark violet aura. Moving like absolute lightning, he rains down a barrage of attacks. But right through the storm, Ilshin's butter knife slips close to the demon's neck, yet right before the blade connects, the monster suddenly vanishes. In the blink of an eye, glowing steps light up right behind the boy. Suddenly, the demon is diving down from above for a killing blow. A colossal shockwave shatters the area. The sword demon lands, breathing heavily. Entirely unscathed, he feels sure that final strike hit, proud of the clash. But wait, his blade suddenly snaps clean in half, and the demon is frozen in sheer horror. In the quiet, a faint laugh echoes. He cannot believe what he is seeing. His target is still standing. There is Ilshin, staring blankly, whispering that he just wants to cut everything. The demon's eyes widen in pure terror as he realizes His own neck is twisted entirely backward, though it quickly snaps straight. As if it were nothing, off balance, the young hero sways for a moment. He subtly shifts the hand holding his tiny knife. The demon does not comprehend what is happening at first, until a brilliant flash of blue energy streaks right past him. Instantly, the demon realizes his life ends here as glowing beams pierce through his body from all angles, creating a wheel of brutal strikes. Somehow, the sword demon is still breathing, utterly confused about what just happened. He inspects his hands. He is completely untouched, with all his enemy's absurd strength. A kill was guaranteed, yet he spared him. The demon then demands to know who this monster is. Ilshin raises his small knife and begins his grand reply. He claims to be the legendary sword god, stunning his opponent. The title is only held by someone at the absolute peak of martial mastery. But right then, the cheat skills timer runs out, and Ilshin's overpowered buff disappears. The tiny knife that once sliced through everything now looks completely ordinary. Luckily, the dense sword demon notices nothing and drops to his knees in deep respect. Ilshin is absolutely baffled by this sudden shift. The demon even starts begging to witness those godlike skills. Just one more time. Just like that, this lethal boss becomes his loyal second disciple. Behind them, Mary groans in agony, reminding our hero of his main mission. His eager new follower rushes over, instantly tipping a rare high potion down her throat. This premium elixir practically grants an extra life, meaning it will easily restore her failing health. A warm golden light begins radiating from the girl. Eager to prove his fanatical loyalty, the demon bows and begs forgiveness for causing trouble. With that, the rescue quest is cleared and his trust rating shoots up to 139. You love to see it. Ilshin starts wondering how many bizarre glitches and shadow organizations he will run into. The demon assures him Storm will recover, but Ilshin demands to know who hurt her. Terrified, the fanatic begs his master to slice him open to wash away his sins, but our protagonist remembers this guy was associated with a terrorist guild. Testing his luck, Ilshin asks how strong his lethal disciple really is and orders him to turn around and wipe out his old terrorist guild. The demon is stunned by the command, but Ilshin asks if he intends to disobey his new lord. Looking up at the sword god with deep reverence, the loyal fanatic bows low, stating he will execute the task with absolute joy. Honestly, to Ilshin, this guy is just a free, highly effective weapon. He doesn't care if the demon dies, as long as he wreaks absolute havoc on them. The orders are set, and now our hero can finally activate his newly unlocked power. He has met all the hidden conditions to use a very special skill. It is called the Thumb of the God of Multiplication, and it costs exactly 100 coins to activate. Thrilled, Ilshin realizes he might have found a literal money glitch. Fast forward to later that night at his apartment. A single lit window shines in the dark as Ilshin frantically searches, rummaging through every drawer. He desperately hopes he has some spare change lying around. Sadly, shaking his dusty piggy bank only yields a single 10-cent coin. It is a pitiful amount, but it is just enough to trigger the skill. He activates it, and absolutely nothing happens. The legendary ability is a complete dud. This god power only works on people, not objects. Naturally, he sees it as completely useless. Reading through the online comments about everything that happened, the young man realizes something important. He cannot just stand there getting attacked. No way, he has to act. He needs to strike first and win, so he asks the internet community how he can get stronger. Some advise him to play the long game, while others want him to go wild. They suggest using the celestial sword for a massacre. Rubbing his chin, he ponders. The protagonist wonders what the best move is. Suddenly, a brilliant idea strikes him. Why choose? He decides to pull off both plans at the exact same time. Entering the god creation field, he prepares to multiply his ants using his special ability. Now that an army of millions stands ready, the young man issues a single order. Wipe out the enemy. With that, the massive Gami army begins its march forward. The wait time is 24 hours, but as he stares at the screen, something looks off. He spots something quite strange. One of the larger ants is actually healing a tiny one. The healer ant suddenly senses his divine presence. She speaks of believing in their one true God. With his holy protection, she promises they will all enter a brand new life. As the number of believers climbs, his own good karma begins to surge as well. Suddenly, his phone buzzes with an incoming call from the man in charge. The moment he picks up, a furious voice on the other end starts screaming. He demands to know where the manuscript is and what is going on. He worked incredibly hard to stop the president from canceling the writer's contract. The series barely even started and he already wants a break. This is madness. This nagging makes Ilshin want to use his multiplication skill on himself right now. He has nothing to lose, so he spawns a clone, placing his thumb on his forehead. The young man activates the ability. A dark scarlet energy begins to swirl in the air. Thick smoke rises. As it starts to clear, he catches sight of something unexpected. Another man stands there. Meanwhile, his multiplication god ability goes on cooldown. Excitement rushes over him. Ilshin realizes his wild idea actually worked perfectly. From now on, having a double will make finishing the manuscript a total breeze. But get this, before he can even finish that thought, a brutal slap cracks across his face. The clone barks out not to order him around, throwing a nasty insult his way. When Ilshin tries to talk back, the clone hits him again, beating him senseless. Brushing himself off, the copy claims he feels great now, but the phone is still connected. The angry editor asks if the author seriously expects him to fall for this prank. Without a shred of remorse, the clone snatches the phone and tells him to get lost. Smiling wickedly, he equips his cruel assassin skill and glares at his own creator. He looks ready to strike. Then, a sudden blast of energy shoots toward the phone screen. Meanwhile, over on the ants' battlefield, a truly massive monster launches an attack. The beast is absolutely gigantic compared to the terrified little ants, closing in fast. They realize that despite their immense numbers, they simply stand no chance. With glowing red eyes, their executioner orders the tribe to keep their heads up. But before another word can be spoken, the beast spots a strange light in the sky. That blinding light crashes down, instantly vaporizing the monsters in its path. The ants stare in pure shock. This sudden massacre boosts his cruel assassin level. The cruel assassin skill instantly shoots up to C rank. One of the surviving beasts trembles. It gasps, realizing this must be the terrifying evil spirit they all heard rumors of. Meanwhile, a heavy fist slams hard on the table. The one-armed beast apologizes for his failure, reporting their entire army was completely annihilated. A woman with terrifying, monstrous limbs stands up, demanding to know if they truly expect her to believe a single evil god did this. The beast desperately explains that the terrifying entity they faced looked like a literal demon, but he is suddenly turned to ash, completely erased without a trace. She demands them to warn the king, but he is currently busy with a closing ceremony, so she orders them to summon the generals and the 10 swords, but they warn her it will leave them open to attacks from rival nations. Hyona snaps back, declaring that the most critical threat right now is the Black Tribe. She demands they bring her the Dark God's head before the king returns. A winged soldier asks Arachne for her permission, promising to bring her the Dark God's head with his own bare hands. Meanwhile, our hero's face is still badly bruised. He finally opens his eyes, aching and deeply confused. Then he remembers his own clone thrashed him. Then a sudden notification pops up on his phone, offering to track down where his Rogue Abundance clone escaped to. Ilshin also notices 121 missed calls, waiting from an unknown number, along with some threatening text messages. They are all from a powerful figure warning him that if he continues ignoring them, things will end badly. Meanwhile, endless updates on the clone's epic achievements flood the screen, but Ilshin knows none of it matters. Honestly, would you care about high scores with a ruined life? Bright notifications keep listing the clone's incredible milestones, but our hero knows a successful game is worthless if his real life is totally falling apart. Because of it, the manuscript deadline is officially here now. If he fails to submit his work, the publisher will cancel his contract immediately and force him to repay the entire advance. Desperate to catch up, the writer starts typing away, but another alert pops up, a mission to save his believers. If he accepts to protect the loyal sword demon, his talent will flourish. Trying to stay focused, Ilshin decides to ignore the message, but an intense blue glow suddenly floods his entire room. The blinding light radiates from the screen, announcing that the perspective of his loyal follower, the sword demon, is now being revealed. We see the warrior bound and captured as a mocking woman asks if the cat got his tongue. As she steps closer, she demands that he spill all his secrets right now. This is the Immaculate One, a 26-year-old human blessed by the ruthless god of destruction, who wields destructive flame abilities. Grabbing the demon by his hair, she calmly promises that if he speaks up, she will end his suffering quickly. The sword demon indeed attacked the guild just as Ilshin requested, but ended up captured. Our main character notices a third figure looming right beside them, a massive man glaring with absolute hostility. This giant is Iron Head, a 31-year-old human from the Kang Hui Guild boasting incredibly dense muscles. The beaten sword demon looks utterly broken and bloody. Ilshin activates his unique omnipresence power to get closer. Long ago, as a child, the sword demon was sold to the underworld and trained to be an assassin. After awakening his rare martial abilities, he secretly carried out countless assassinations. He met the Immaculate One, an Iron Head at the guild where they were raised together. Naturally, they became surrounded by rivals. This young man knows normal dreams are simply not for him. So he just walks the path of the sword, striving to become one with his blade. He wants the peak. He wants to find what he has always sought. But knowing everything might end right now, that realization brings him nothing but deep sadness. Iron Head steps forward. He declares that the only punishment for betrayal is death. Warming up, he warns that if the Immaculate gets in his way, she dies too. Held roughly by his hair, the battered sword demon quietly prays to his god for mercy. Ilshin watches this horror unfold. What an absolute mess. Deep down, he knows he must save people first, so he prepares his sharing technique. He links with his follower, Ilho, while Iron Head builds up his final strike. The brute lunges to finish the sword demon, but our hero vanishes into thin air. Ilshin teleports in at the perfect second, saving his follower's life. There is no time for introductions, the young protagonist warns. He combines Miri's lightning speed with Ilho's muscular body. Using everything at once is his only real shot at victory. But get this, a sudden system alert warning flashes of a massive skill overload. He cannot share power from two spirits who are stronger than his current self. The backlash hits instantly. He begins to feel the agonizing strain in his body. Iron Head smiles wickedly, lunging forward to deliver a brutal kick to the chest. The strike connects perfectly, but the villain's smug look immediately twists in shock. A sharp pain shoots up his leg, as if he kicked solid iron. Ilshin manages to tank the overload by activating his rigid body ability. He blocked the blow, but the young man is still completely breathless. That was incredibly close. Now, the Immaculate rushes over to wake her fallen ally. She fails. With eyes full of raw hatred, she glares straight at Ilshin. Demanding to know how he dares, she takes a deep breath to attack. She unleashes a massive, roaring blast of fire directly at him. Ilshin braces for death, but Ilho's rigid body skill keeps him completely safe. Can you believe that? The raging flames feel like a warm, relaxing bath to him. The Immaculate gasps for air, confident that her target has been reduced to ashes. But when the smoke clears, she gets a shocking surprise. His defense absorbed every single bit of damage. Caring for Ilho was totally worth it. Refusing to accept defeat, the desperate woman spits out another wave of fire. But with his extreme heat resistance, the boy barely feels a warm breeze. He closes the gap in a flash and strikes her down hard. Just like that, his skill time limit expires. The rescue is successfully finished. A new talent suddenly blossoms inside him, making him think he will be great at writing. But that excitement dies instantly. Ilshin feels absolutely no difference. Still, the saved sword demon is incredibly grateful to have such an amazing master. The guy's intense admiration is so overwhelming that Ilshin gets pretty embarrassed. He awkwardly begs him to stop, knowing he needs to get home quickly to write. Right at that moment, an unsettling sound echoes through the quiet ruins. A creepy, sinister voice calls the young man truly incredible. A stranger approaches clapping, saying it is a real pleasure to meet him. The sword demon warns his master as a completely naked man steps into view. The mastermind behind this entire mess is actually the apostle of the god of destruction. A 29-year-old human, sacrificing people to his dark god. Looking at this absolute weirdo, you Ilshin cannot help but think he is a creep. But the apostle is totally unembarrassed, happily welcoming our protagonist. He says it is an honor, leaving Ilshin pretty nervous after reading his stats. Caution is key. He needs to tread carefully around this guy. Suddenly he stops. The weird apostle is actually weeping. The long-haired weirdo spreads his arms, crying that he finally found a kindred soul. Wait, a sudden hand stops the creep dead in his tracks. The sword demon steps in, coldly warning the creep to stay back. Instantly his mood shifts. He throws a casual, devastating backhand. He calls the demon a mere insect and sends him flying with unbelievable force. Splat, the sword demon crashes incredibly hard into a distant wall. Insane, nobody should be able to swat his ally away like that. The apostle demands to know which god Ilshin serves, but he gets no answer. Instead, Ilshin mutters a quiet spell and charges straight at the maniac. He uses his skill-sharing skill, borrowing lightning from the storm. Shocked by the sudden surge of electricity, the apostle can only stare. Meanwhile, the insectoid is secretly slipping away from the meeting room. Flying off, he plans to hunt down the followers of this god of destruction. If the followers decrease, the dark god's power will surely weaken. Peaceful days, the sun shines down warmly on a quiet, distant village. An elder warns the village kids to avoid the deep forest, but he suddenly stops. He looks up, a strange shadow in the sky freezes him in horror. The winged intruder lands with a wicked grin, eyes locked on his targets. He has reached the Black Tribe village and knows exactly what to do. His plan is to unleash a deadly poison skill and wipe them out. A sick plan, but it is his way of weakening the god. Back at the temple, Ilshin lands a direct lightning punch to the apostle's jaw. The impact is massive, the creep is sent flying with zero defense. He crashes, a loud thud echoes, but did Ilshin actually win? Yeah, not quite like a classic zombie, the guy crawls back up. A horrific scream echoes, but Ilshin immediately blasts him again. Lightning drops him a second time, but he just keeps popping right back. Ilshin quickly realizes his flashy storm abilities are not going to work. He starts wondering if this creepy guy is literally immortal. Despite being covered in severe burn marks, the apostle laughs it off. Total regeneration. Now our young hero is in a serious pinch. His defensive buff has worn off, and his main attacks are completely useless. Plus, the guy heals instantly. Ilshin is really starting to panic. Dying to a total weirdo would be a pretty pathetic way to go. The apostle sighs, asking if that is all he has got. How boring. Ilshin desperately racks his brain until a crazy idea finally hits him. He activates his clone skill, the thumb of the multiplication god. A perfect double materializes instantly. Hopefully, this duplicate is on his side. Since there is a foe close by, this sudden skill catches the apostle completely off guard. He finds it unbelievable. Since the creator was kind, the clone steps up. A sharp glare is immediately directed straight at our protagonist. Ilshin decides to stay quiet, yet his clone seems deeply concerned about their situation. He worries about the Black Tribe being in danger and their fading power. Watching the two of them chat casually, the apostle grows extremely irritated. Feeling completely ignored, the furious man unleashes a sudden, devastating strike. The clone easily ducks, sending the deadly blow straight toward a defenseless Ilshin. He takes a direct hit and crashes. He grimly realizes power means nothing if he is dead. With a grim face, the clone calls out, commanding Ilshin to burn the naked bastard. Suddenly, a massive blast of power strikes his screen, cutting off their connection. Our hero realizes the clone is going to vanish on his own. The charging apostle demands the attention of Ilshin, who is left completely dazed. He wonders how he can possibly pull off the clone's crazy burning command. But then he remembers his skills. Raising his middle finger, an idea sparks. That is when he remembers he actually possesses a unique ability of his own. While the apostle prepares his next strike, Ilshin points his finger forward. He activates his skill, the judgment god's very own intervention strike. The long-haired apostle freezes in shock, his eyes widening in pure disbelief. With burning determination, Ilshin charges forward as a bright flame emerges. But in reality, it is barely a spark. Honestly, it looks absolutely hilarious. It literally looks like a cheap lighter. The apostle looks down in pure pity. He asks if this is a joke and slowly walks toward our hero. Clinging to hope, the boy raises his finger, desperately trying to expand the fire. Quickly switching tactics, he presses his index finger tightly against his thumb. By triggering the skill of the multiplication god, he launches the flame ahead. The apostle watches, slightly surprised, as several small sparks fly his way. They float toward him but do absolutely no damage at all. The man scoffingly tells him to stop playing these foolish games immediately. Ilshin feels completely doomed, about to die because of his clone and a naked creep. But before he can say goodbye to his life, Ilshin spots something strange. The arrogant apostle is suddenly in pain as severe burns appear on his skin. Get this, the more evil the target is, the more they burn. Terrifying Gehenna flames work wonders, and the apostle suddenly loses his imposing edge. Clutching his agonizing wounds, he still managed to fire a desperate blast. A dark purple aura completely wraps around Ilshin's struggling body. He writhes in agony from the intense shock wave. The real battle begins. Meanwhile, far away, the Black Tribe members are slowly dying from deadly poison. As they fall, the evil god's power starts to plummet dramatically. The winged warrior blames their foolish worship of this evil deity for the tragedy. Suddenly, a sharp, strange sound echoes, catching his full attention. He looks back in alarm, sensing a figure approaching at terrifying speed. The warrior recognizes him as the powerful god of the Gami people. With a smug grin, the warrior taunts him to bring it on. But Ilshin's clone strikes with absolute fury, holding nothing back. He attacks but is sent flying instantly. He is completely vaporized, leaving only ashes and smoke behind. Countless dead followers litter the ground, while Ilshin deals with excruciating pain. It feels as if every bone is shattering. Suddenly, a notification pops up. His follower count is plummeting. If it continues, his power will collapse. Ilshin grows incredibly nervous, seeing these system alerts during a life-or-death battle. He desperately wonders if using the ring finger of the healing god on himself might work. That would be incredible, making him truly immortal. Pressing the golden finger to his own forehead, the young man triggers the skill. The apostle watches this with a deeply curious expression. Demands 10 million coins to use the healing skill on himself, a massive price. Surviving is all that matters. Fortunately, saving the Gamis earned him a massive fortune. The apostle mutters in sheer disbelief, demanding to know how this is even possible. Seeing his enemy standing, he immediately prepares another deadly attack. The deadly magic closes in on the distracted youth, but right at the last second. Ilshin manages to activate his power-sharing skill just in time. Raising his middle finger, he invokes the terrifying judgment god power to unleash furious flames. It is the judging god power, but the apostle narrowly dodges the blast. He slides safely to the side, laughing and mockingly praising the young man's incredible strength. He claims that the young man is a formidable apostle who shouldn't be taken lightly. Right now, 999 lives are being offered. Ilshin gasps in horror upon hearing this terrifying revelation. The bloodbath will continue until only a single apostle remains standing in the end. Suddenly, the pieces fall into place. They captured the sword demon just to lure him. The apostle raises his hand with a sinister laugh, declaring the final offering. Their dark god is arriving, and a massive crimson beam of light completely shatters the roof. The terrifying beam blasts through the roof, obliterating everything. Destruction reveals a massive, terrifying eye staring directly down at the two of them. Talk about a nightmare scenario, and the apostle actually looks happy about it. Knowing he must stop that thing, he raises his god-crushing index finger. But a warning pops up. His power does not work on the god of destruction. Suddenly, the apostle doubles over in agony, his physical form beginning to warp. The mutating man screams out that this was absolutely not part of their deal. The cosmic eye fires a brutal blast, slamming the apostle down before rapidly closing in on Ilshin. Facing certain death, the young man slowly closes his eyes in resignation. Deep in concentration, a strange vision unfolds before his mind. He feels it is the end, yet wonders if this vision is merely an illusion. He sees a legendary deity, revered by everyone for unmatched strength and mercy. He also witnesses the god of destruction, the ultimate traitor of the deep abyss. That deity lost his goddess, his world, and ultimately was forced to surrender his own tragic life. He was once the god of peace, now nothing but the silent void remains. Suddenly, the young man snaps his eyes open, transformed into pure vengeance. He stands before a colossal, mind-bogglingly massive sword. He begs the weapon to join him. The sword glows with terrifying light. Its massive blade stretches beyond sight, but the protagonist is entirely ready. Determined and completely fearless, the grotesque eye invades the space, releasing a. Slowly, the sinister creature starts creeping even closer. The sword demon wants to protect his lord, but his body refuses to move. Frozen by absolute terror, Ilshin looks over at his trembling follower to speak. He tells him to stay calm and watch him kill the god that creep worshipped. Suddenly, a tortured scream cuts them off, pleading to their so-called lord. Massive serpents wrap around his body as he desperately begs his lord. "This is wrong," he screams. "This is not what we agreed on." The apostle shrieks, begging for mercy while Ilshin and the sword demon watch. It turns out this adored deity is just a parasite, absolutely wild, right? The eye closes in. Ilshin mockingly asks what it is staring at. The sword demon remembers that this terrifying gaze easily turned others to dust. Just one look from that gaze was enough to disintegrate that creep instantly. Yet Ilshin shows no fear, suddenly manifesting a blade of pure light. His follower looks on in absolute awe, his eyes gleaming at the sight. Meanwhile, the apostle shrivels up, completely drained by the demonic entity. As the monster looms closer, Ilshin tightly grips his glowing weapon. He calls upon the ultimate authority granted by the legendary celestial sword. A supreme power capable of slicing through absolutely anything in existence. He unleashes the blade's full potential, aligning his soul with the weapon. A monstrous shadow face begins to take shape from the swirling energy. Even the massive eye starts to tremble as Ilshin leaps into action. He charges straight at the demon with only one thought left: absolute destruction. The giant eye lashes out with its massive tentacles to stop him. But with a deafening roar, our hero strikes to banish the beast. The collision is massive, sending a violent shockwave through the entire area. Later, in the ruins of 12th District of Weyuan, search squads scour the debris. They whisper about the monster, a terrifying triple S-class threat. A creature capable of wiping an entire nation off the map. Wearing a dark trench coat, Hai Kang-kal, head of the Hunter Association, investigates. He grimly notes that it might be time to launch their secret project. Suddenly, soldiers shout to their chief, having located a lone survivor. He approaches the withered, bony body lying among the wreckage. When asked what happened, the dying man just laughs in a chilling way. They need an ambulance immediately, but there is something else inside him. A strange, lingering dark energy resides within his fragile frame. He recalls his final moments, how Ilshin fought as the demon consumed everything. With a violent explosion, the colossal eye shattered into pieces. Only Ilshin remained standing, still holding that massive sword. That sight convinced the apostle that Ilshin is a true god among gods. Meanwhile, other hunters gather around a dragon carcass, credit going to Sun. Mina, she easily obliterated the legendary beast using only her mind, leaving witnesses shocked. One observer wonders if she is truly S-class, given how tough these beasts are. The young woman tells him to cut the chatter and hand over the reward. The man tosses her a gleaming blue stone and starts to say something. That pretty face shouldn't look so angry, just one of these stones costs 100 million. He asks why she needs so many. Clenching her fists, Sung Mina snaps that they promised her a dragon, but it was just this pathetic wretch, a complete waste of time. Watching her fume, Ilshin notes her terrible temper. 2 days later, too. People are talking when Suni asks where she should stick the pain relief patch. He sighs in sweet relief the second it touches his back. His niece, Suni, is the one tenderly taking care of him. The reason is the intense recoil of the great sword's legendary power. Using that force, Ilshin stopped the monstrous eye from leaping forward, but post-mission, he had to bring along his devoted demon follower. The guy keeps acting so incredibly strange that Suni is visibly unnerved by his presence. He even handles random chores, like repairing the broken bathroom door. He simply cannot bear to see the sword god's house looking neglected. Now, Ilshin is convinced this guy is a total fanatic. Honestly, he asks how his follower found time to fix everything before just sitting in the corner. The demon replies that the brilliant guild was no trouble, because the elite hunter squad led by Sung Mina already took care of everything. Ilshin recognizes that name. Isn't she some famous model from TV? Sung Mina and Suni have similar names, suggesting they are related, but they are vastly different. Rising to his feet, Ilshin decides to find his niece's mother. If he visits her at the hospital, maybe he can heal her with his mystic power. Just then, he notices his good karma has spiked massively because he stopped the clone of the god of destruction from descending to Earth. But if that eye was just a copy, how massive is the dragon Narek? Another system notification pops up, declaring that after performing a divine feat, he is now qualified to challenge the promotion quest. He must choose between becoming a righteous god or a wicked one. Naturally, he thinks doing both at the same time is an insane challenge. The conditions demand gathering 10 billion followers or slaying them or repeating the feat with S-class followers. Suddenly, he realizes he can accept both quests if he deploys his followers the right way. He He can completely break this system. Now watch, he decides to let them fight while his Nisuni just watches him, terrified. Sometime later, they arrive at the hospital. Room 505. Ilshin wonders if they are in the correct place, knocking gently. When a strange sound echoes from inside, he finds that raspy voice. Odd, stepping inside, he is stunned to find Mirai vigorously doing push-ups. Seeing him, her face lights up with a warm smile. Ilshin asks why. She is working out while injured. Mirai explains that staying still too long makes her whole body ache, but she is feeling fantastic now, without a single scar left. Thrilled, she eagerly begins unwrapping her bandages to show her teacher. But in that split second, another woman bursts in, demanding if she has lost her mind. Raising her arm, she readies a sudden strike, hitting Mirai squarely on back with absolute force. Ilshin wonders where this wild woman even came from. She fiercely scolds Mirai for stripping off bandages before a man, her voice dripping with pure rage as she demands who he is. She marches toward Ilshin, demanding to know his business with her sister, swearing she will kill anyone who dares mess with her, but Mirai quickly cuts in, screaming at her sister too. Lowering her glasses, the strange woman coldly asks if he is a teacher. A teacher at the Hunter Academy. Ilshin is about to speak, but notices her expression. Murray looks terrified. She frantically signals him to keep quiet and say nothing. Though he plays it safe, he claims he is just a physical education teacher. The woman immediately demands his rank. It does not look very high. Murray snaps, defensive. She tells her sister that her teacher is actually incredible, even if he is totally unknown to the world and looks a bit scruffy. Watch out, Murray warns her sister that he is actually far stronger than her. Hearing this, the woman pulls off her cap, revealing her true identity. Ilshin freezes. It is Sun Mina, Murray's older sister. She is a famous S-class hunter. Angry, she glares at her little sister. Have you lost your mind? She demands to know after Murray was demoted. Unleashing her terrifying manipulation ability, she orders her to repeat those exact words. Speak up, who is the strongest one in this room? Murray feels her mind break. Terrified, she quickly apologizes, but Mina has no intention of letting this go. Kneel, Mina orders, and the girl instantly drops directly to her knees. Do exactly as you are told, Mina reminds her younger sister very coldly. Suddenly, Ilshin's eyes lock with Mina's. The young man steps in. He asks her to calm down since she already broke her sister. Get out of the room, Mina screams at him, but he just plugs his ears. He sighs, muttering that her voice is much louder than it actually seems. Mina fires her manipulation ability directly at him, commanding him to leave. But the heavy mental pressure has zero effect. Ilshin does not notice. He cluelessly suggests they talk things out. Murray, on the other hand, is absolutely stunned. Her teacher easily resisted her sister's terrifying mental manipulation. Guarded, the S-class hunter demands his rank, but before he can reply, Mina changes her mind. Bowing respectfully, she asks him to protect her sister. Putting her cap back on, she warns Murray to take care of herself. She tells her sister not to skip meals. This is Mina, 24 years old. A devout follower of the god of destruction, she is cursed by Narek. Ilshin is deeply conflicted. She has a bad temper but loves her sister. She truly cares, so the young man decides to ask a risky question. He decides to ask Mina if she feels constant pain or a heavy curse inside. Getting straight to the point, he tells her he is talking about the curse of Narek. Hearing this, Mina lowers her head. With a dark, sinister gaze, she demands answers. How does he know? Ilshin nervously explains his unique sensory ability. He feels intimidated by her aura, but her expression quickly shifts. She says it is fine. Turning around, she promises they will meet again. As she leaves, Ilshin exhales. S-class pressure is absolutely no joke. Surviving a real battle against someone like her would be incredibly difficult. What is he thinking? Murray approaches him with a soft question. Ilshin shakes it off, asking if she can go upstairs with him. She smiles and agrees. Soon, he stands before a lightning tiger. Even pouring all his strength into it, nothing changes at all. He repeatedly tries to trigger the smashing god's index finger, but fails. It fails. He thought it would be easy since he deals with this stuff constantly, but he falls short. Despite her recovery, he still cannot understand why this is so difficult. He asks Mary to wait a bit, then he spots a sudden notification flashing. It warns that some of Mary's powers are sealed, so the young man decides to focus solely on that seal. With absolute focus, the way he stares so intensely makes the poor girl blush, but Ilshin remains locked in. He concentrates like he is trying to thread a needle. Then, suddenly the seal snaps. Confused, the boy speaks out loud, asking why it broke, and then he asks her if she knows where her sister is. With a sly grin, an idea hits him. He knows he needs to have a very serious chat with Mary's family. After thinking, he reaches this sudden decision. Wait, let's look closer. We cut to a maximum security facility where guards patrol. Inside, the tragic apostle kneels in his dark cell, remembering the divine voice he heard when he had completely lost his will to live. He survived solely for salvation, but it was a lie. Still, he desperately clung to this deity. Instantly, painful memories of his last battle come rushing back. To him, how weak and heavily manipulated he was. Now, he finally understands. It was actually a demon. His dead eyes reflect a completely shattered faith, but then he recalls a magnificent face, the true God of gods, and right then, he watches the warm light streaming through his small window. He begs the new deity for mercy, realizing this true God actually saved the entire world. The prisoner begs for permission to place his faith in this holy, all-powerful deity, and his heart overflows with new devotion, believing in the mighty Ilshin he now sees. The grand name of his true master, with tears welling in his eyes, he gives heartfelt thanks for being accepted. Suddenly, a masked figure materializes in his cell. The intruder coldly asks if he just said Ilshin, stepping closer as the bewildered apostle demands to know how he got in, asking if the association's corrupt leaders have finally abandoned him, despite always lusting after his powerful talents. He mockingly asks if they did this just to quiet down public outrage. He warns them that even without his evil powers, he is still fully capable of killing. The masked visitor laughs mockingly and asks if this arrogant guy really thinks he owns the place, but he cuts the chatter short. It doesn't actually matter because he will never forgive him for hurting his beloved sister Mary. Simply by pointing a finger, he makes the man's heart suffer, a shocking, terrible pain. Slams him to his knees. He screams out in total torment, but of course, absolutely nobody can hear him. Meanwhile, our oblivious hero is relaxing at home, thinking how he never got to speak with Mina, but meeting top-tier celebrities is always extremely difficult. To make things worse, the sword demon has packed up and left, leaving only a simple goodbye note. Suddenly, his phone buzzes with an urgent notification. It alerts him that the legendary apostle, John, has officially sworn loyalty as an S-class believer. Talk about an insane trade-off. Even with a powerhouse gone, his following expands rapidly. Then another shocking message flashes across his screen, coldly announcing that his new follower John is dead. Yet, Ilshin immediately absorbs the immense divine sacrifice from his sudden death. The glitching phone displays heavy warnings, stating that consuming an apostle's sacrifice carries an incredibly massive risk. By excruciating pain, the light from the device blazes so bright that the boy has to shield his eyes. Suddenly, an intense surge of pain strikes his body, so strong it makes him scream out. This is how the power of his follower John is fully absorbed. This means even if a believer dies, the god can still absorb their unique abilities. However, Ilshin is curious and wants to know how his follower died. After a quick search, he spots a news report about the death of a major black market mastermind. Despite the loss, his progress toward becoming a good god is safe. Thankfully, the count has not decreased. Completely exhausted, Ilshin still wonders why John suddenly became a fanatic believer before dying of a sudden heart attack. But the protagonist decides he probably should not care too much. After all, the man was just a twisted villain. No need to complicate things now that it is over. With these new powers, he can finally become a top-tier hunter and earn real wealth. Then he suddenly recalls that he is a novelist. Even if he is not the best, he still needs to write. When inspiration strikes, after working for a while, the boy is exhausted. He managed to upload 10 chapters in one go, expecting a great reaction since he wrote about his real-life experiences. But as he checks the screen, his mood immediately sours. The comments left on his novel are filled with nothing but harsh criticism. This brutal feedback makes him wonder if he should find a different career. Suddenly, a loud knock sounds at his door. Ilshin finds this incredibly strange, since he was not expecting guests. If that sword demon has returned already, he is going to be highly annoyed. But the moment he pulls open the door, ready to yell, he stops. Standing there is Mirai, looking incredibly anxious and worried. Completely out of breath, the pale girl suddenly collapses onto her knees. Clasping her hands tightly, she desperately begs her teacher for a massive favor. Seeing her desperate, pleading face, Ilshin knows he could never say no to her. Nobody could. It is impossible, without a second thought. He agrees to help, and her faith instantly jumps by 10 points. This simple promise makes the young girl feel both incredibly relieved and excited. The next morning they arrive at the Hunter Academy. Ilshin walks with Mirai, asking if the favor was really just acting as her guardian instead of her older sister. The academy requested a guardian due to her frequent absences, but she preferred him. Still, Ilshin highly doubts her faith would jump 10 points for something so basic. She just grins, complimenting how sharp he looks in his dark suit. She happily tells him to wear one more often, promising to buy him premium training gear. Hearing this, Ilshin becomes highly suspicious of her sudden, sweet flattery. He begins to worry she might turn out as fanatical as the sword demon. Shaking the thought off, he hurries her along so they will not be late. When they enter the office, a stern teacher asks about their relationship. Mirai awkwardly claims that Ilshin is her uncle. The instructor eyes them skeptically, noting they look nothing like, but the stubborn girl insists that she looks exactly like her relative. Watching this, Ilshin realizes the lie is incredibly weak. Inspecting the man's status window, he sees Lee Gunwook as a buff 33-year-old. From that profile, the teacher seems like a normal guy who just loves fitness. Lee quickly apologizes, admitting he expected her older sister, Sunmina, to show up instead. He asks if Ilshin is a hunter, but the guy shakes his head, claiming he is just ordinary. Just an ordinary guy. Excited, the girl whips around and starts bragging about her awesome uncle. Later, we see an office entrance. A massive creature's horn hangs ominously on the wall. Inside, a gray-haired man paces through the room, lost in deep thought. He realizes years have slipped by since that massive portal suddenly opened up. Right above the school, a demonic ogre emerged, fully capable of tearing the country apart. A panicked soldier asks if the hunters can even stand a chance. But truth was, this beast proved a massive challenge even for the top rankers. Suddenly, a soldier points toward the battlefield, yelling for his commander to look. The lone warrior steps forward to face the colossal nightmare completely by himself. He gathers every ounce of raw energy into his fist as the creature closes in. His fist connects with a blinding flash, sending shockwaves through the air. The giant ogre crashes hard to the earth, leaving the lone hunter standing victorious. The soldiers watch in absolute awe as an unnamed hero effortlessly downs a god. He single-handedly slaughtered a high S-class threat. Years later, he lives a peaceful life. They call him Choi Kangen, the legendary cleaner, now older and wiser. Now he just wants to focus on raising new talent at the academy. But their star student, Sun Miri, is also his absolute biggest headache. She grew up too fast and ended up incredibly spoiled, so Choi needs to act. He plans to bring this up at today's meeting to finally get some peace. Meanwhile, Ilshin is chatting with Lei, who asks if he happens to be a writer. Lee mentions reading is his hobby and wonders what kind of books the kid writes. When he hears Ilshin writes stories about muscular ants, the guy gets hyped. He is totally thrilled as the three of them finally reach the director's office. Lee knocks gently, announcing that Sun Miri and her guardian have arrived. Our main character adjusts his tie, desperately trying to mask his growing anxiety. Bowing respectfully, he introduces himself as Sun Miri's official guardian and uncle. He immediately asks what Miri did wrong, but then their eyes lock. A wave of realization hits them. They absolutely know each other. Ilshin remembers this director was drinking heavily in the street during their last encounter. And he is actually the famous S-class hunter, Choi Kangen the cleaner. Meanwhile, the director recognizes Ilshin from a very chaotic incident in the past. But he figures it is just his mind playing tricks. No way that monster is here. Since Ilshin remembers him, he decides to break the ice and act casual. Lee can clearly tell that the director is extremely uncomfortable. The director is secretly panicking. He remembers this young man claiming to be just an ordinary guy, yet surviving a lethal blow. Theoretically, one solid punch should have killed him. Miri steps right between them, asking what the director is doing. The old man suddenly rants that you never know when monsters will strike. Lee is completely baffled, since it is the absolute first time seeing him look so terrified. Ilshin steps forward, trying to ease the tension by mentioning he once lent him money. Hearing this, the director suddenly spins around and frantically yells out that the young man does not need to pay him back. Suddenly, the window shatters. As the director dives straight through it, plunging headfirst toward the ground. Everyone is left frozen. The man suddenly bolts without offering a single word, leaving. Ilshin completely bewildered. He wonders what that bizarre scene was all about, as Lee and Mirai just stand there, totally baffled. The director has fled like a bat out of hell. Lee quickly steps in to apologize for his behavior. Asking if they were startled, the burly man nearby explains that the director recently met someone and has been acting completely out of his mind ever since. He adds that it is likely nothing serious and he should return shortly. Sure enough, the director returns a moment later. Soon, the four of them are sharing tea and cookies. Mirai seems to love the treats, happily urging her uncle to try one, but Ilshin politely declines, telling his fake niece to enjoy them instead. As he chats with Mirai, he notices the director staring at him with an incredibly intense glare before suddenly getting a wild notification. A devotee just offered Choi Kangen's snack as a divine sacrifice. Nibbling on the cookie, Ilshin realizes this entire treat is the offering. Still, finding Choi Kangen's intense gaze deeply uncomfortable, the young man decides to stand up, asking if the director has something on his mind they should discuss privately outside. The older man gets flustered, quickly insisting that he has nothing to hide and that they can speak right here. Observing this, the young man senses the director's mental state is highly unstable, making this a terrible time for a serious discussion. Sensing the tension, Lee starts the formal meeting by bringing up Mirai's school absences. Since she is such an excellent student, it is merely a friendly warning to keep her records clean and ensure it does not affect her future. Lee thanks Ilshin for coming while the silent director looks utterly drained. With the business concluded, Ilshin announces that they should get going, but the director suddenly begs them to stay. The group turns to him in surprise as he declares he cannot possibly let them leave. He asks if Ilshin has any clue how desperately he has searched for him since that fateful day, his voice trembling as he insists this meeting is destiny. He confidently boasts that his elite academy possesses the top testing gear, so they absolutely must run some evaluations, practically daring the youth to refuse. This relentless push leaves our protagonist thoroughly creeped out. The director then shamelessly states he will get down on his knees if that is what it takes. Seeing an opportunity, Ilshin offers a deal if they overlook Mirai's absences and refrain from forcing her into hard training. He will agree to the tests. Lee looks quite uneasy, but the director eagerly accepts the terms right away, solidifying their sudden pact. A bit later, the director meets with a young female assistant who argues that it is completely wrong to test a normal civilian as if they were a licensed hunter, reminding him that past records put Ilshin at G-class tier. She remains deeply curious about why this test matters so much, but Choi has his secret reasons. Soon, Ilshin stands right before the massive measuring orb used by the academy to measure human capability. Right now, a heavy sense of dread washes over our protagonist. An instructor calmly instructs him to place his hand on the glass. Moving slowly, Ilshin gently presses his palm against the smooth surface. Instantly, violent energy floods his entire body, whipping his hair back as the sphere violently trembles. The researcher quickly announces that the measurement is complete and he can. She steps back, then freezes as she spots something truly unbelievable. He's totally convinced his real powers are finally about to be recognized. He waits for a high rank, but the screen stubbornly stays on rank G. The kid feels completely crushed, while the woman sighs that it's their worst result ever. The stunned director immediately asks if there's any chance the machine made an error. But she shuts that down. The failure rate is just 0.1%. Mary watches their weirdly casual banter, wondering if they are actually close friends. Turns out she's Choi Umbai, chief of the academy's medical team. And yes, she's also Cho Kangen's daughter, snapping at him to use her professional title. Ilshin wonders if the machine simply can't measure him because he's a god. The stubborn director refuses to accept this and demands another round of testing. Still, if he really was that weak, he would have collapsed back on the rooftop. But as the old man keeps digging, a totally different theory hits him. What if this kid's real power only triggers when he's pushed to the absolute edge? If that's the case, he's got to apply some serious pressure right now. Meanwhile, a totally clueless Ilshin asks Mary if she wants to grab some lunch. She happily agrees, but the director suddenly looms right behind them in a stance. The kid jumps back in surprise as the old man challenges him directly. He scoffs, telling him that a stupid machine doesn't know a damn thing. Ilshin complains there's nothing to gain here, but then a realization hits him. Both the sword demon and John joined his side after a good beating. Defeating this director means bagging another S-rank believer for his cause. Oh, you just know he's already planning how to recruit him. While the others find his sudden shift deeply suspicious, Choi is absolutely thrilled. She immediately suggests heading to the gym, but Lee steps up to block them. He volunteers to fight instead, saying a living legend shouldn't waste his time. A little while later, they all gather around the heavy-duty combat ring. Ilshin touches the metal cage, instantly feeling how solid the barrier is. He realizes this heavy-duty mesh is designed to absorb massive energy blasts. Lee asks if he seriously plans to go in without any protective gear. Since Lee isn't wearing any either, he smugly notes he's a different breed. Ilshin just smiles back, coolly replying that he'll skip the armor too then. Lee's face twists into a dark smirk as he warns him he'll regret it. The director watches closely, warning Ilshin to absolutely not drop his guard. He explains that Gunwook is a top-tier B-rank hunter with endless combat experience. Mary cheers excitedly, loudly wishing her uncle the absolute best of luck. This cute display leaves our protagonist feeling a little bit awkward. A crowd quickly gathers, completely hyped to see the legendary instructor in action. Ilshin wonders where everyone came from, but Lee just wants to finish this fast. The kid casually gestures, telling his opponent to take the first shot. Lee's blood boils, realizing this kid doesn't respect their massive difference in rank. He has no clue what the director sees in him, but it's time for a lesson. He's going to teach this brat exactly what it means to be a real hunter. Both take their stances, and Lee immediately lunges forward with a heavy strike. The powerful punch tears through the air, but Ilshin effortlessly slips right past it. Gunwook is completely shocked despite barely putting any real force into his strike. He assumes it was just beginner's luck, but that kind of easy fight ends right now. Gunwook's focus is absolute, preparing a low straight punch. Ilshin watches carefully, taking the full brutal force of the blow this time. The crowd of excited spectators gets absolutely hyped seeing him take such a clean hit. Gunwook stands firm defensively, but his entire expression shifts. He panics upon realizing what happened. Standing with a single finger raised, Ilshin is on his feet looking completely unscathed as he decides to use his God-crushing blade skill, pointing his middle finger straight at Gunwook. He strikes him square in the forehead, delivering a massive impact. Gunwook barely has time to think before flying backward, thinking. It is impossible for a G-rank to defeat a B-rank. He lands on his back heavily wounded. Ilshin thinks that by defeating a B-rank he might be considered an A-rank. Gunwook is down, looking completely defeated. The glasses girl watching everything keeps her arms crossed, but she adjusts them as she sees the outcome, realizing Ilshin is no ordinary hunter. Everyone wonders how this happened as Gunwook is carried out of the ring on a stretcher. Ilshin watches, wondering if Gunwook is okay. Suddenly, the director climbs into the ring. Demanding that the young man fight him next, he throws his shirt down. Preparing for combat, his physical build is still incredible even after all these years. Choi is 58, his muscles holding immense potential. Looking at the director, Ilshin notices a new notification, and while he is not a fan of fighting massive men, making Choi a believer would be very useful. Ilshin's intense gaze makes Choi feel a chill, but he thinks the kid defeated Gunwook so easily because the evaluation machine was broken. Either way, his power is still far below what Choi witnessed the other day. He figures the youth might actually need to pass out to unleash his strength. But before they begin, Ilshin proposes a wager, extending his hand and declaring that the loser owes the winner a favor. Choi agrees as long as it is nothing illegal. Ilshin explains it is nothing weird, but he will only reveal what it is if he wins. Choi is deeply impressed that the kid is so convinced he will win. Ilshin thinks that if the director does not become a believer, he will force him to speak the magic words just like with Gunwook. However, Choi also has a favor in mind in case he wins the battle. This is perfect for Ilshin, and he is absolutely certain he will win. Choi smiles and says, "That is just fine." Then he begins to gather his strength, a blue aura exploding around him. This surprises the young man, who is thrown back. By the wind, he realizes the old director is not playing around. Decides to activate his own rigid body skill to match him. Choi's eyes widen upon seeing his opponent's physique change. Everyone watching is totally shocked except for Mary. Choi mutters that Miracle was right all along. He is indeed the one. Miracle said that sooner or later, the noblest and most savage beings would appear, and Choi should keep him close. Academy, Ilshin finds that advice shocking. Still, his own schedule is already packed tight. He has got a book to write and a promotion to chase. But mid-thought, his instincts scream. A massive fist is flying straight at his face. The punch hits squarely. A deafening explosion of dust and shockwaves rips across the ring. Miri and Uni freeze in shock. Meanwhile, the director is already moving with insane speed. Even the S-Class realized his opponent is far from some ordinary average fighter. Having blocked the blow, Choi wants to see if Ilshin matches the prophecy. Surprised by his opponent's speed, the young man prepares a counterattack. But Choi is lightning fast. He slips right into strike. His fist connects directly with Ilshin's chin, landing a heavy and brutal blow. Choi is totally locked in. Nearby, Miri feels a heavy knot of panic. Seeing her teacher take a direct hit is terrifying, but Ilshin refuses to back down. He tracks the old man's movements, sharp, precise, waiting for the right moment. He whips his leg forward, driving a heavy kick straight into the director's ribs. Choi counters instantly. A matching, heavy kick lands hard against Ilshin's side. The sudden agony makes Ilshin yell out, but Choi just grins at his resilience. Is this old man really an S-Class? The raw power is unbelievable. But the thrill of the clash is worth it. He has not even gone all out yet. Choi barks that he will drag the kid to the academy after beating him down. To make absolutely sure, the S-Class decides to unlock his ultimate strength. Ilshin raises his guard. He wishes the director luck as the clash starts anew. Choi moves like a ghost. His heavy, firm steps crack the concrete beneath them. Here is where it gets crazy. The S-Class unleashes his true, raw power. The crowd remembers him popping a monster like a balloon, praying he spares the kid. Miri bites her lip. Even her insanely strong teacher is in serious trouble now. This is pure madness. She has to find some way to stop them before someone dies. Both prepare devastating punches, but the old man is also channeling a magic circle. Ilshin raises his forearm to block, bracing himself for the incoming magic attack. But mid-clash, a system notification suddenly flashes in front of him. It announces that Ilho has finally cleared the 11th floor of the tower. As a loyal apostle, he is immediately sending a tribute down to his master. Gifts always arrive at weird times, but he needs to survive this fight first. Meanwhile, Choi is completely oblivious, focused on shattering the kid's defense. He has zero issues breaking an arm if it gets him the win. Both fists hurtle forward, ready to collide in a massive shockwave. Both fighters are fully locked in, completely focused on landing this final blow. But right at the point of impact, a huge bouquet of flowers suddenly spawns. This has to be the tribute his follower just sent from the tower. Highly annoyed by the timing, Ilshin casually tosses the bouquet behind him. The flowers brush past Choi's face, suddenly triggering a rush of dark memories. A terrifying vision of a horrific plant monster flashes in the old man's mind. Plunged into absolute panic, the legendary S-Class completely loses his mind. He smashes through the ring's railing, crying for his mother as he flees. Ilshin stands frozen in pure confusion, staring at the massive hole in the railing. He can only guess the powerful director has some incredibly severe plant trauma. He won anyway. That director is definitely becoming his newest follower. Ilshin checks his phone. Nothing, not a single notification yet. Maybe he has to say the keywords to trigger it. But then his phone starts violently vibrating with a brand new threat. The ants are in trouble. A massive wanderer horde just breached the city. He has to decide their fate now. Honestly, this is great news for him. More followers, perfect. His total count is about to skyrocket. Glancing over, Mary is completely spellbound. They need to find a quieter spot fast. Slipping away to a secluded area, Ilshin gets straight to managing his territory. He expands the walls, clears fields, and builds more houses. Every new structure draws in even more believers to his domain. Borders must grow fast because his follower numbers are exploding. Imagine the headache when this hits 1 billion. He lets out a curse. He accidentally lets slip a swear word, and his loyal ants witness the whole thing. Naturally, they take his frustrated cursing as a sacred celestial command. A weird system notification pops up as they chant the curse. The ants repeat Ilshin's bad language relentlessly, bad influence on the kids. He bolts, the director is still waiting for post-fight answers anyway. He is probably dying to know what happened, but then another ping. This next alert is honestly terrifying. Things are taking a dark turn. Far away, the sword demon is huddled in a pitch-black corner, clutching a knife. His gaze is completely empty as he points the blade directly at himself. The system asks if he wants to stop his believer's suicide. The demon shivers uncontrollably. Suddenly, Ilshin appears right there. Emerging from a portal, he finds the man kneeling on the floor. Sensing his deity's divine presence, the demon slowly looks back. Tearfully, he begs his god to save him from this misery. Ilshin immediately grabs the young man's hand, wrestling to take the knife away. With a hard tug, he disarms him and tosses it aside. He kicks the blade far away, demanding to know why he did this. But the sword demon weakly gasps that it was not what it looked like. Ilshin is highly skeptical, and of course, the real trouble arrives. A masked figure with glowing red eyes materializes behind them. They stay silent, shocked they did not sense his arrival. "Don't let your guard down," the demon screams in a state of total panic. He warns that they are dangerous, and even went as far as disguising their voice. This is definitely no ordinary weirdo. They are up to something big. Ilshin takes a much closer look, realizing this is not some random pervert. In fact, it is actually Sun Mina. He asks her what she is doing here. She stays quiet. Beside them, the demon clutches his sheath, confused. The demon clutches his scabbard, while she furiously addresses only our hero. Ilshin simply explains that, as he said before, he just senses things differently. The demon is completely shocked that his god knows such elites. Seeing no point in hiding, the young woman finally pulls off her mask. She glares at them with absolute determination, leaving the demon completely stunned. Ilshin is struck by her beauty. He comments immediately. Such angelic looks, yet she acts with pure malice. Mina snaps. Her concealment mask was supposed to be flawless. She screams in frustration. How could basic sensory magic bypass it? The demon flinches from her sheer pressure, but Ilshin is calm. He asks her to relax. What exactly is she doing here? Her face contorts with absolute rage. She is here to kill. Specifically, the bastard standing right here. Ilshin is just surprised. The sword demon warns him. This woman is extremely dangerous. There are 10 targets who survived his past wrath. She is one. Still, the protagonist asks his believer if she is actually weak. Putting all of that aside, he gently asks Mina to just drop it. The sword demon might be a weird guy, but he is pitiful. Completely harmless, but Mina is not buying a single word. She cannot let her brother's killer walk away in peace. Ilshin asks if killing him right now will actually solve anything. If she stops, he will take full responsibility himself. But Mina refuses. She has a plan for the aftermath. Once the sword demon dies, Ilshin is next in line. John warned her about him. He is behind all of this. On top of that, he is using Miri, pretending to help her. Suddenly, Ilshin cuts her off. Why did she seal her sister? She freezes. How could his sensory skills pick that up? That seals it. He absolutely must be eliminated immediately. No matter how strong Miri is, she cannot break it. That lock was created by Mina herself, which makes it an absolutely unbreakable, flawless binding spell. But Ilshin simply cannot comprehend why she would risk her own life. He asks if she was simply jealous of her younger sibling's genius. Did she seal her just to remain the superior hunter? That insulting question snaps her patience. She unleashes mental manipulation. Sensing the direct danger to his master, the sword demon instantly intervenes. He charges ahead, but Mina reacts with perfect timing. She turns her hand toward him, a simple flick of her fingers. Crimson energy blasts the sword demon, instantly sending him flying backward. He crashes hard, completely paralyzed on the ground. What an absurd power, defeating an elite with a gesture. Ilshin quickly checks on him. The believer groans in intense pain. He begs Ilshin to run. Mina is double S-class. Ilshin is genuinely impressed. How strong is this girl? Crackling red energy fills her palm. She calmly declares his time is up. With a cold glare, she clenches her fist tightly. Instantly, Ilshin feels a sharp, agonizing squeeze in his chest. The sword demon screams out, but the attack is relentless. Lethal, crushing power squeezes his heart, while Mina watches him cold-eyed. With no defense against internal strikes, he is helpless. His face drops as the sword demon loses it, screaming in pure panic. That is until Ilshin snaps, telling the noisy spirit to just shut his mouth. He claims the strike is a joke, just a light tickle. He chuckles, begging for the tickling to stop. Mina is completely stunned. She cannot believe it, that strike was at absolute full power. Mina admits this guy is way tougher than she expected. But if he thinks she only does mind tricks, he is dead wrong. A strange blue light surges through her. The sword demon grips his blade. He squeezes the hilt. He knows they are in serious trouble now. Mina's eyes glow intensely. She controls a dangerous crimson energy. The spirit warns his master to watch out because she is double S-class. In their world, S-class is the limit, making her a total monster. Talk about an unfair matchup. She is easily stronger than Director Choi, and she coldly commands them to burn. Ilshin braces himself, keeping his eyes locked on her while his companion panics. Out of nowhere, a massive ball of fire comes roaring down on them. He raises his arms to block the blast. The searing heat still bites. His loyal demon gets hit too. The fireball detonates. Looking down, he inspects the fresh burn on his arm and the smoking crater. It is clear Mina packs some serious destructive force alongside her mental powers. Smirking, the girl makes it clear that she is just warming up. Right on cue, another massive sphere of freezing blue energy starts forming overhead. Here we go again. She shrieks for them to freeze as the deadly projectile hurtles straight down. It crashes right between them, and Ilshin can only watch in suspense. A sudden chill creeps through his veins as his feet lock into solid ice. Meanwhile, the poor sword demon is already completely frozen solid like a statue. He wonders how she can possibly wield so many conflicting elemental abilities at once. He asks if she is a spiritual hunter, and she proudly confirms it. Pushing through the cold, he shatters the ice and steps forward completely unharmed. He realizes this freezing trap is nothing but a clever mental trick. She giggles, admitting that her spiritual magic makes hallucinations feel completely real. Suddenly, jagged rocks rise into the air, aiming straight for his chest. She points out that a perfect illusion is virtually identical to actual reality. While the frozen demon remains trapped, Ilshin watches the sharp stones fly forward. Now she uses her mind to lift a massive boulder twice her size. Hovering over them, the giant stone is primed to crush them both flat. She laughs. It doesn't matter if it is fake if the impact still kills. With a violent wave of her hand, she hurls the massive boulder down. She demands that he spit out his true identity if he wants to survive. But he knows she will never believe the actual, absurd truth anyway. Still, he decides to take a massive gamble and just tell her his real job. He explains that he is an author and the literal god of an ant colony. His current mission is simply upgrading his sister, Mary, into an S-class hunter. So he asks her to please break his sister's seal and let them go. Mina thinks he is mocking her, concluding that he must have a death wish. She releases the massive stone, sending it hurtling directly towards his head. The sword demon is still frozen, screaming in despair. The massive rock collides with the ground. It hits with a deafening crash, sending shattered debris and rock fragments everywhere. Mina watches the chaos, thinking she finally got rid of the annoying pest. But then a voice calls out skill sharing. Ilshin uses his rigid body technique. He withstands the brutal impact, smashing the giant boulder into a million tiny pieces. His steel-hard fist collides with the giant stone. The explosion from the impact is massive. The blast forces Mina to shield her eyes as bright rays of light tear the sky. Wild streaks of raw energy ripple through the air, painting the sky with power. As the thick dust begins to settle, Ilshin calmly walks out of the ruins. Mina is completely shocked. He stopped her massive attack using nothing but his bare hands. The sword demon gets so hyped up, he literally breaks free from his icy prison. Our main character sighs at his follower, reminding him that he called it an illusion. The sword demon slumps in pure embarrassment, stammering out one apology after another. Mina watches this weird bickering, still convinced that the guy is just G-class trash. But Ilshin tells his partner to quiet down. He has some unfinished business to handle. He locks eyes with Mina, who is still wearing a completely stunned expression. Closing the distance in a flash, he asks her to just listen for 1 second. She is terrified by his sheer speed, instantly leaping backward to put distance between them. She demands to know how he did that, but she is already charging her next spell. He sighs, asking why she won't even give him a chance to speak. But there is no talking to her. She is already unleashing another heavy attack. This time it is a mental space spell. A glowing magic circle forms between her hands. Deep purple energy floods the room, and then a sudden shockwave hits him. The force blasts him backward, and Ilshin struggles to defend himself. He is pushed back, unable to hold his ground, but when he opens his eyes, he finds himself standing in an entirely new world, a vast, infinite void. A sweet, calming scent fills the air, making him feel incredibly warm and relaxed. He feels completely invincible here, but then the serene atmosphere suddenly warps. The sky fills with a sea of brilliant stars, turning the void into night. It is a stunning sight until a furious voice cuts right through the silence. She screams that she is absolutely furious, unleashing another powerful skill on him. The attack snaps him back to reality. Her next spell is called Deep Swamp. Instantly, Ilshin begins to sink into the ground, suffocating despite the lack of water. Mina glares down at him, declaring this is his end, but he refuses to yield. He desperately tries to activate his system indicator, but the phantom water holds him. It traps his body completely, rendering all of his main skills totally useless. Mina steps closer, mocking him and telling him not to worry so much. She promises it won't kill him, but he will end up as a vegetable. Hearing her cruel warning, Ilshin yells back that a vegetative state is basically death. But he forces himself to take a breath and calm down. This is all an illusion. Suddenly, Mina stomps her foot directly onto his head, pinning him down. She coldly warns him that this is his absolute last chance to survive. Demanding he speak up right now, she wants to know his identity and true goal. His face shifts, giving her hope that he is finally going to confess. But he is actually staring at something else entirely, driving her to pure rage. Her face flushes red, making Ilshin realize why wearing a dress while stepping on someone is a terrible idea, pointing a finger directly at the young man. The girl coldly orders him to die as the surrounding waters grow extremely violent, rising up to completely drown him. Then, just a moment later, the protagonist is entirely submerged. Mina watches, convinced she has finally won. Deep beneath the heavy, imaginary water, the young man begins to feel incredibly sleepy, but Ilshin knows he must stay awake to find out why this girl sealed him. Despite his exhaustion, a system notification pops up, announcing that the conditions for his ascension are met. In the exact spot where the young man sank, strange bubbles rise, and oh boy, Mina is not ready for this. Massive carnivorous plant erupts from the ground. To Ilshin, it feels like a wonderful dream. Meanwhile, Mina believes that even if she failed to find the boy's true identity, she has successfully eliminated a major future threat, so she turns away, preparing to return to reality. But before she can even take a step, she notices the water wildly churning. Bubbles rise to the surface alongside a strange, eerie glow. Suddenly, a massive carnivorous plant bursts out from that exact spot. It is covered in sharp thorns, thrashing around like a predator. Mina barely dodges in time, desperately wondering what kind of monster she is facing. The girl focuses on the creature, trying to comprehend its nature. The beast rose from the water as if born from the depths of a swamp. Getting close to the young woman, it tries to swallow her whole. Mina manages to dodge and lands swiftly, but she is horrified to see how many heads the beast actually possesses. She cannot understand how it bypassed her illusion, since nobody is supposed to enter without her explicit permission. Then she wonders if her opponent created it. The creature opens its massive mouth once again, closing in on her. The young woman's eyes widen as she catches a glimpse of the creature's interior. Inside one of the blooming flowers, Ilshin rests peacefully. The boy appears to be sleeping soundly, and even in his dreams, he wishes he could sleep much longer. But unlike its peaceful host, the monster is hyperactive and incredibly aggressive. Mina gets slashed across the arm, wondering what to do next. No joke, she has never felt so completely powerless in her life. The difference in power is terrifyingly clear. As fear sets in, she remembers something all too familiar, a crushing weight identical to what she felt on that fateful day. The true demon feared by all. Remembering this, she falls to the ground defenseless. The massive branches of the gigantic plant begin to close in on her. They wrap around her, their sharp thorns causing tiny wounds as they carry the young woman toward one of the plant's mouths. It opens slowly, preparing to swallow her. Mina screams at the top of her lungs, begging the creature for mercy because she still has unfinished business. She refuses to die before getting revenge on The legendary abyss dragon, her desperate cries echo through the hollow space. But suddenly her entire body vanishes. It remains a mystery whether she was eaten or somehow escaped. Meanwhile, someone is walking barefoot. The protagonist stands in front of a completely ruined sanctuary. He has no idea where he is, remembering only his battle with Murray's sister. Just then, something bright catches his attention. A mysterious flickering light appears, prompting him to follow it. System notification alerts him that the legendary power of the blind god's eye is active. Ilshin is now watching Mina's nightmare, witnessing everything in vivid detail. He finally sees why Sunung Mina sealed Miri's powers. Her nightmares started 15 years ago when the Abyss Dragon first appeared. That terrifying beast slaughtered thousands of innocent people in a single day. It even devoured Mina and Miri's parents right in front of them. Before leaving, the dragon branded both girls with a cursed mark. The monster wanted them to grow strong just to sacrifice them later. Fueled by this mark, Mina became an S-class at just 14. From then on, her entire life was focused purely on revenge. Rumors claimed the dragon was dead, but she knew it would return. She prepared for its comeback, but the heavy curse kept eating away. Every time her power grew, her remaining lifespan shrank even faster. She was on borrowed time, trapped in a highly accelerated growth cycle. It was a double-edged sword that rapidly traded her life for raw power. Worst of all, this same curse was already taking root inside her sister. Failing to break the curse, Mina made a desperate, heartbreaking choice. She sealed Miri's abilities, sacrificing even more of her own lifespan. This way, she slowed down her sister's growth, preventing her from reaching S-class. Above all else, Mina simply wanted her little sister to live a normal life. Realizing the truth, Ilshin breaks down in tears, completely overwhelmed. Suddenly, Mina's fading spirit shatters, and the dark illusion dissolves. The sword demon tries calling out to him, but Ilshin remains unresponsive. The loyal follower is happy to see his god survived and asks about their next move. He asks if they should hand the unconscious S-class over to the association. Ignoring the suggestion, a frantic Ilshin rushes straight to Mina's side. He gently pulls her close, desperately checking if she is still breathing. He gently holds her close and calls out her name, begging her to wake up. Finally, the young woman stirs, and he anxiously asks if she is hurt. She struggles to speak, summoning every last bit of her remaining strength. She weakly mumbles the word mom, making Ilshin even more incredibly worried. A bright morning sun soon rises over their quiet, isolated house in the middle of nowhere. Inside, Sung Mina is sleeping quite peacefully, even sucking her thumb like a child. But Ilshin quickly realizes his usual healing finger technique is totally useless. Deeply worried, he turns to his loyal group of followers to see what they recommend. One fitness fanatic follower immediately suggests just building up her physical strength. The sword fanatic coldly claims sacrifice is the only logical choice left. But another voice chimes in with a much more promising idea. Once Ilshin ascends to a high-tier god, his divine healing will cure anything. As they discuss this, Ilshin remembers the strange dark force from earlier. It was the legendary rose that blooms at night that provoked him. Now everything clicks as a sudden burst of pure genius hits him. Feeling incredibly smart, he turns to his dream-based follower to verify his theory. He asks the silent nightmare if this crazy solution could actually work. With his face turning bright red, our hero cannot believe the cure. He literally has to share a bed with her to heal her. He claims there is no other way. Reluctantly convinced, the boy lies down on his bed. But he immediately sits back up and stares at Mina. He gently reaches out to adjust her blanket, but she suddenly flutters her eyes open. She softly asks what he is up to. And he simply tells her he is about to whip up some breakfast, sharing a room like. This is not some romance, but a critical way for Mina to recover her lost memories. In short, she just has to share her dream space with him for a while. To test things out, the young man starts asking about her name and favorite things. But when asked about what she hates most, her face drops as she whispers the scary flower. Right now, Mina acts like a total toddler. Meanwhile, major news begins spreading outside. A legendary S-class hunter has vanished. This means Ilshin has to keep the girl hidden from the world until she recovers. For now, Ilshin decides it is best to get in touch with Mirai. Meanwhile, the sword demon is training outside. Seeing his master step out, he instantly stops. He bows deeply, greeting the deity with utmost respect and admiration. Training under the sword god is incredibly unique, a totally wild approach that shatters every basic rule of traditional blade mastery. Ilshin recalls spending an absolute fortune just to help his loyal follower evolve. He needs 1 billion S-class believers to finish his grand quest. Suddenly, a system window pops up with some incredible news. 2 more followers are finally ready to break through, back home. Anti and Ilho have officially attained S-class power. That means the sword demon is next. Evolving his current crew is the best strategy. He needs to splurge on some top-tier gear to boost them further. Too bad the shop has a strict no-refund policy. He feels totally ripped off. Still, Ilshin refuses to lose heart. He recalls those highly effective growth potions that worked wonders on Ilho, which should work for the sword demon too. He waves his follower over and hands over a batch of these powerful elixirs. Drink these while practicing, he instructs. He is heading off to cook breakfast now. The demon immediately offers to cook instead, eager to serve his master. But Ilshin tells him to focus on getting stronger. Dropping to one knee, the demon swears he will never fail his lord. Back inside, Ilshin is just trying to figure out a decent breakfast menu. Glancing at his phone, he spots a warning that Baek Yuhyan will rip off the kidnapper's head if they hurt Mina. Talk about some terrible, cursed timing. Right on cue, a massive blast completely shatters the walls behind them. Both of them turn around in shock as an armored figure steps through. It is Baek Yuhyan, a 26-year-old wielding an absolute, devastating flame. Shocked, Ilshin asks if that really is Baek Yuhyan standing there. The sword demon instantly bristles at how rudely this stranger addresses his deity. Watch your mouth when speaking to the almighty sword god, he warns. When the red-haired intruder scoffs in confusion, the demon just shakes his head. How pathetic and childish, he sneers, instantly launching into a smug taunt. That little girl you're looking for has already been thoroughly crushed. She lost to our god and now relies entirely on him, Baek Yuhyan. Instantly flies into a deadly rage, threatening to burn everything to the ground. He wants to destroy the boy. The demon keeps taunting, claiming they are not. Scared of a little dog who only knows how to bark, he tells his god to stay. Back confident that he can easily crush this intruder on his own, suddenly he lunges forward with a massive strike from his giant sword, but Baek effortlessly stops the cold steel with just one bare hand. Gearing up to strike back, he extends his arm, unleashing a massive blast of fire right at the demon. The monster collapses instantly. Completely charred, Ilshin stands frozen in shock. In the next instant, the powerful warrior vanishes. He reappears seconds later, locking his grip right around Ilshin's neck. He demands to know where Mina is hiding and what that other idiot was talking about. Ilshin flinches at the sound of Baek's voice, heavy with absolute rage. It feels like standing right before a legendary dragon. That is because the true essence if his weapon belongs to a red dragon. Suddenly, Baek squeezes down harder on his captive's throat. Ilshin feels the searing heat, realizing his face might actually melt if he cannot stop this fire. Out of options, he unleashes the crushing god's index finger. This sudden counterattack only angers the fiery warrior more, until something strange starts to happen to his body. He realizes with horror that he cannot move a single muscle. His fierce draconic gaze shifts immediately. Stunned, the fiery warrior demands to know what sort of bizarre spell is holding him. With a simple flick of his finger, Ilshin orders his foe to fade away. Even the dragon's spirit cowers, covering its eyes. Slowly, the warrior starts dissolving into thin air. Baek has absolutely no idea what is happening. His mighty weapon suddenly loses all its terrifying pressure. Visibly irritated, the red-haired fighter glares at our hero, demanding if he caused this, but Ilshin just acts completely clueless. Before explaining anything, he has one small favor to ask. He politely requests that the man let go of his neck because it is very sensitive. Still pretty hot. Meanwhile, the sword demon watches this crazy scene unfold. He is amazed to see that his lord can stand toe-to-toe with such a terrifying foe. But right in the middle of their heated argument, Sun Mina steps outside. She screams at the top of her lungs, ordering everyone to keep it down. They are making way too much noise and she cannot rest. Spotting her, Baek rushes over to ask if she is unharmed, but her cold stare is filled with pure anger. She immediately notices the red-haired warrior choking her beloved friend, pointing a finger right at him. She calls him a horrible person. This absolutely shatters Baek's heart. Talk about instant heartbreak. Mina's eyes glow as she prepares to attack. Explosive blast directly at him. The impact lands perfectly, throwing him back and freeing. Ilshin as Bayek goes soaring through the air, he crashes hard against the dirt with a deafening thud. It takes him a moment to sit up, battered. But still conscious, shaking all over, he asks her why she would attack him like that. Mina totally ignores him, simply screaming Mary's name. She bolts toward Ilshin, frantically checking if he is okay. It seems she actually thinks our hero is her lost sibling. She gently cradles his face, whispering that everything is fine. Hugging him tight, she promises to protect her little sister from any dangerous people. Watching her embrace another guy like that leaves Bayek completely devastated. Meanwhile, she continues fussing over Ilshin's face, constantly asking if her sibling is in pain. Our protagonist almost plays along with the act, but then his eyes drift over to Bayek, who looks absolutely crushed. He is still down on his knees, thinking back to those rumors about him and Mina dating. Now he gets why the redhead is hurting. His girlfriend does not even recognize him. Feeling bad, Ilshin decides to help. He steps in. He activates his healing finger. Just like that, Beck is fully patched up. A system alert pops up. It confirms the boy is fully restored. Despite being under level 8, he is somehow capable of transcending. The treatment costs 100 coins. Still, our hero sees a massive opportunity. If he keeps this up, recruiting S-class followers will be easy. Beck stares at him with pure devotion. He would literally donate an organ. This is his chance to convert him. Meanwhile, the redhead is completely stunned. He knows this healing speed completely defies any normal common sense. The main goal is to build a solid, trusting bond between them. He tries explaining that everything is just one giant misunderstanding. But before he can finish, a deafening roar cuts him off. Several helicopters approach. Ilshin realizes Yu Hyan did not come alone. He asks to be absolutely sure, and the redhead confirms he came alone. Knowing the kid has absolutely no reason to lie, Ilshin starts to worry. He wonders who they are. It could be the Hunter Association. Maybe it is the investigation unit, or bounty hunters wanting his head. Either way, this looks bad. A crowd this massive is bound to bring trouble. The helicopters hover closely, and armed agents prepare to drop. As they rappel down, Ilshin tries to figure out who they are. Then he spots a very familiar face peering out from a chopper. It is the academy director, looking grim, with Miri standing right there. The director probably thinks he is dealing with a dangerous kidnapper. Mina gets incredibly excited when she spots her sister in the crowd. Meanwhile, our hero is sweating bullets, wondering how he will explain this. After a few hours, Ilshin finally explains the entire situation. He even details the painful nightmares he witnessed inside Mina's mind. Overwhelmed, Miri bursts into tears, and her sister holds her close. They share a warm embrace, crying and declaring their love. Uni approaches and hands Ilshin a shiny B-class license. Apparently, summoning that monstrous flower really impressed the director. The moment the beast is mentioned, Mina runs away in terror. His unique summoning skills are highly rated, which earned him the credentials. Ilshin realizes they must be talking about his night-blooming rose skill. The director asks if he wants to join the academy as a teacher. But Choi steps in, offering to double his starting salary. Uni shows him the amount, and his eyes light up greedily. So Ilshin accepts the offer and officially becomes an academy teacher. Sometime later, back at the school, Miri is bursting with excitement. Her classmate asks why, and she says a special guest arrives today. Right on cue, the classroom door opens and someone steps inside. It is Ilshin, looking absolutely exhausted and dead on his feet. Students instantly recognize him as the guy who one-shotted teacher Goon Wook. The intimidating giant standing right behind him is his loyal follower. He explains he will be taking over since Goon Wook is out on medical leave. Naturally, this sudden announcement throws the entire classroom into complete confusion. To shut down the noisy chatter, the sword demon violently slams his weapon onto the floor. He fiercely warns them that learning from a great sword god is a massive honor. Ilshin ignores the noise and tries to start the first lesson. But Mirai objects, pointing out that their original teacher only ran physical education classes. Hearing this, the new instructor casually tells them to just study on their own. This is simply because the young man is completely worn out. He rests his head on the desk for a few seconds and immediately falls asleep. The sword demon barks orders for everyone to remain dead silent. Terrified, the students whisper among themselves and decide it is much safer to obey. After all, that scary follower has to be at least an A-rank hunter. The next day, Ilshin arrives and orders them to keep studying for exams. By day 2, a heavy downpour traps everyone inside the classroom. No surprises here, the lazy teacher just tells them to do more self-study. On the third day, the weather is absolutely beautiful, yet they study again. Honestly, something is very strange about this entire situation. For 3 straight days, they have done absolutely nothing but study by themselves. Meanwhile, whenever he is awake, their teacher is just tapping away at an ant game. Even lunchtime brings another shock. He actually sits down to eat with them. He happily rambles about how great it is to have a job with free lunches. With a completely blank face, he asks Kyonji why she is barely eating anything. Mirai still looks totally enchanted by him, but Mongji thinks she is completely blind. Later that day, Mongji decides to find out why her friend likes this weirdo. Walking down the street together, Mongji finally brings up the strange new teacher. Mirai defends him, saying she thinks Yu Ilshin has a very special charm. Then she checks her phone and mentions her sister and Ilshin are waiting. Saying goodbye, Mirai leaves Mongji behind, utterly shocked that they are meeting up after class. From that moment on, she makes a firm promise to discover what she sees in him. The next morning, the lazy instructor gathers everyone for a brand new plan. Instead of studying, they are finally going to do some practical combat. Mongji smiles, thinking this is her perfect chance to beat him like a dog. But Ilshin casually dumps the duty onto the sword demon, claiming he is too sleepy. Irritated that this slacker only cares about sleeping, Mongji decides to force his hand. She boldly raises her hand, announcing to the entire class that she has no partner. Blinking in confusion, Ilshin suddenly realizes they actually have 21 students. Before he can think, the girl steps forward and demands he be her partner. While the sword demon finds her boldness amusing, she mockingly asks if he is afraid. But Ilshin surprisingly decides to go along with it and accepts her challenge. His boss Uni did threaten to cut his pay if he caused trouble. But he still needs to put on a decent show of actually working. Though he only mumbles this under his breath, Mongji manages to hear every word. She glares at her lazy teacher with total contempt, instantly freezing the entire room. The teacher glares with sheer contempt, instantly filling the room with suffocating tension. The surrounding students can definitely feel the tension, so she whispers back, promising to defeat him. That lazy wage thief, Ilshin finds her brazen attitude amusing, but deep down he knows she is not entirely wrong. He really did spend the last few days just sleeping, but there is a very good reason for his exhaustion. The young man actually gave up his own bed to the sisters, so Mina could recover in comfort, yet sleeping on the cold floor was not the worst of it. He barely got any sleep with those 2 slackers crashing right next to him. Even though they are prestigious S-class hunters and the literal future of Korea, they certainly do not act like it. Ilshin even tried asking why Yu Hyun could not just sleep at his own place, but after a night of heavy drinking, the guy did not even budge. The pair of them have been crashing at Ilshin's house for a whole week now, drinking every single day. After all, literally any minor event was a perfectly good excuse to celebrate with alcohol. When it started raining, they would say it was the perfect time for a few drinks, and when the weather was nice, they would argue it was a fine day to drink as well. Ilshin was seriously worried this would hinder Mina's recovery, but the little girl actually got excited whenever she saw them wasted. But while those 2 slackers slept like logs, the girl only asked Ilshin for help whenever she got hungry, so he was stuck with feeding the entire household. And so he drags himself to the kitchen once more. Among other home-cooked meals, he would sometimes cook kimchi fried rice for everyone. Our main character has been catering to them all week while looking after Mina, leaving 0 time for sleep. But while the young man is busy cooking, something catches the girl's attention. The phone of one of the sleeping drunks vibrates non-stop until it lets out a loud alert announcing that the famous S-class hunter Sergei was killed in Gangan province. This shocking news could mean a disaster-rank monster has emerged. And looking closely at the article photo, you can see a strange message written on the wall. It is clearly not Sergei's handwriting, but written in an African language are the chilling words, "a sacrifice to God." The 2 then decide to leave before it is too late, and while Ilshin is distracted cooking, they teleport away just as the hot food is served. The young man hands Mina her plate, telling her to finish. eating and get ready for school. Whenever he leaves for school himself, the young man leaves Mina with her teacher Uni, and they get along beautifully. But regardless, our hero is determined to work hard today. Go Mongunji is a 19-year-old girl possessing rare necromancer abilities, a talent that leaves our protagonist thoroughly impressed. The student declares she will kick off the match and orders her subordinate Hades to open his eyes. Ilshin knows very well that Hades is the king of the underworld in mythology. Go Mongunji starts to focus her mind to activate her spirit summoning ability. Suddenly, a massive figure manifests right behind her. This terrifying summon is absolutely massive and radiates immense power. It is the giant zombie Hades, a legendary summon ranked 7th in the underworld. This excites the young man since his opponent's bizarre skills look pretty entertaining, but right as he's about to be struck, Ilshin readies his signature steel body technique, but something catches his eye, making him look up. Incredibly, Hades freezes midair right before he can land a crushing blow. Go Mongunji is baffled, demanding to know what happened, but the giant zombie drops to his knees and bows in absolute reverence. He murmurs that he is honored to meet the great supreme existence. The student stands there, unable to comprehend what just happened, because a summoner's command must be absolute, leaving the other students completely shocked. It looks like the instructor has completely dominated the summon. The sword demon notes this is expected of the legendary sword god. Meanwhile, a frustrated Mongji starts punching her giant summon, looking like a tiny squirrel confronting a massive tiger. Ilshin tries to settle things by suggesting they fake a battle, but the undead warns that would be far too bold. Hades explains he senses the immense power of his master, the legendary mountain crushing giant within Ilshin. Right then, our main character remembers that this summon once served that great giant as a loyal knight. Intuitively, the young man places his hand right on Hades' head, acting exactly like the mountain-crushing giant himself. And just like that, the zombie's memories flood straight into his mind. Back then, he was no decaying undead. Hades had sworn himself as the giant's personal knight out of pure admiration, yet he failed to protect his master's sacred priestess and ended up dying. After that, he became a bitter, wandering zombie spirit, drifting through the desolate underworld until Mongji summoned him. This heavy story leaves Ilshin deeply moved. A sudden notification pops up asking if he wants to recruit the giant's fallen knight, and without hesitating, the young man accepts. Just like that, Ilshin inherits the ultimate follower of the mountain-crushing giant, with the potential to evolve him even further. This incredibly rare opportunity leaves him speechless. Then, the system asks if the young man is willing to expend his own divine energy to trigger the evolution. Ilshin accepts. Instantly, as divine energy surges through his veins, the zombie Hades begins to radiate a blinding golden light. In that exact same moment, the undead starts screaming in absolute agony, as if a terrifying energy is possessing him. The other students are completely stunned, realizing they are witnessing an actual miracle. Even Ilshin himself is shocked to see a full evolution take place. Inside the arena, the zombie glows brighter, emitting immense power. Standing tall, the creature's physical form undergoes a rapid change. Its skin shifts color and glowing runes manifest across his body. Even his face changes, drastically hardening into a fearsome bone skull. Finally, Hades, the massive zombie giant, transforms into the elite nocturnal Hades paladin. Instructor Yi watches it all unfold, whispering that the kid must be truly incredible to pull this off. A new system screen reveals that this evolved paladin still possesses the massive potential to transcend. The moment the evolution is complete, the imposing creature kneels right before Ilshin, thanking him for his grace and swearing to serve as his unbreakable shield. Separate system message announces that Ilshin now has 4 S-class believers capable of absolute transcendence. Mongji is completely dumbfounded, seeing that her zombie has evolved and can even speak now. But after pushing his limits like this, Ilshin begins to feel incredibly sick. The young man completely loses his footing and starts to collapse. Frantic, the sword demon and Mary leap over the arena railings. They all rush to the master's side at once. Noticing his face is deathly pale, Hades calmly reassures them, explaining that their master is only resting. Hearing this, the 2 anxious believers are immensely relieved. The sword demon vows to guard his master until he is ready to awaken. This toll makes sense, since summons require divine energy to evolve, and Ilshin expended far too much power trying to upgrade such a monstrously strong warrior. Now the Young man is resting, experiencing a highly pleasant dream. He lies right in the lap of a gorgeous woman with an incredibly divine presence. Right now, he lazily reflects that infinite abundance is being quite generous to him today. Soon, Ilshin will have the power to meet his. She tells the followers directly, the god has used too much divine power and needs rest. Meanwhile, the goddess Infinite Abundance gently brushes her fingers across his hair. Radiant golden energy flows down, washing the young man in pure, absolute bliss. He is in paradise, completely unaware of the dark entity creeping closer. Inside, Yi stays glued to her computer screen, while young Mina sits beside her. The bored little girl sighs, wondering when Ilshin and Mir will finish their class. Before you can even reply, Mina gets a sudden spark of inspiration. Anticipating this boredom, she had packed a secret companion in her bag. Gently tapping a small container, the girl asks if the prisoner wants candy. Instantly, the little capsule begins to rattle and thrash wildly. Mina giggles and cruelly takes the treat away, making Uni sigh in exasperation. Honestly, Uni preferred the girl when she was just a normal brat. She wanders back to thoughts of what her father and Yu Hun are investigating. But a sudden, blood-curdling scream cuts her off as a lollipop clatters to the floor. Mina stands there, paralyzed with terror and trembling right in front of Uni. Her face is pale as she frantically whispers the word no on loop. Uni thinks she is just upset over the dropped sweet and offers her more. Instead, the girl clings to her in sheer, unadulterated panic. She whimpers that a horrible monster has arrived to devour her whole. Outside, a menacing hooded figure stands before the building, muttering to himself. He knows this is where the gods' holy sacrifices are hiding. He seeks the 2 seeds of the abyssal dragon, though one remains unripened. Nearby pedestrians look at his strange attire with immediate, growing suspicion. The guard walks over, loudly warning him that he cannot stay dressed like that. Grabbing the stranger's shoulder, the guard demands to see his identification. But before the man can even finish his sentence, everything goes silent. In a terrifying flash of movement, the invader brutally tears the guard's head off. The remaining security team panics, rushing forward in a desperate frenzy. They sprint toward the killer, but he is already gone. He glides past them like a ghost, delivering fatal slashes in silence. With a casual flick of his wrist, he demolishes the concrete floor entirely. The shattering blast reverberates heavily, shaking the building's outer walls. As heavy rubble rains down, the monster demands to know his target's location. Red emergency lights begin to flash frantically as he walks through the ruins. To him, only the 2 sacrifices matter, the rest are mere trash. Armed defenders scramble to block his path, attempting to surround him. But the killer begins to glow with a dark, threatening aura of power. Suddenly, his gaze locks onto Miri, and his face twists. The monster smiles a wicked grin, realizing his primary target is right here. He has found the unripe seed, and he is not leaving without her. With a single burst of force, he blows the defending warriors backward. People scream in terror, completely helpless against his overwhelming destruction. Snatching up a piece of stone, he sneers at them like annoying pests. His eyes flare crimson as he commands them all to perish. Huge chunks of shattered concrete fly outward, raining down on the helpless crowd. Shrapnel bursts outward, striking the warriors. A few deadly fragments fly straight toward Sun. Mirai and the sword demon, but the warrior instantly draws his blade. He successfully deflects the flying stones, though the heavy impact rattles his entire arm. Emergency alarms blare. They must evacuate to the bunker immediately because the director and S-rank reinforcements are still 10 minutes away. Everyone is warned to avoid fighting. Mirai begs the sword demon to take Ilshin to safety while she stalls, but he insists on asking Hades instead. Suddenly, a chilling grin. The hooded intruder declares that will be quite impossible. Right on cue, a massive beast breaks through the floor. A terrifying, colossal monster rises, unleashing a deafening roar. It begins gathering destructive energy in its massive claw, spinning a violent vortex around itself. Mirai and the sword demon watch in utter disbelief. A massive violet barrier seals the structure as the beast snarls that no savior is coming for them. Mirai recognizes the territory barrier, a signature technique exclusive to king-class threats. The sword demon urges her to run for the shelter immediately. He plans to distract this giant alligator himself, stepping forward to deliver a fierce slash. But the instant his blade connects, a strange sensation hits him. He is Blasted back, he takes devastating damage from the sheer wall impact. The annoyed beast growls, demanding how a mere demon dared oppose it, before turning toward Mirai to demand where the sacrifice is hidden. Unflinching, the girl stares right back. She fires a devastating bolt of lightning directly at the creature. Meanwhile, inside the bunker, Mina is shaking with absolute dread. Feeling her sister's life in danger, she suddenly vanishes like a ghost. Mirai is left fighting a losing battle, throwing everything she has at the beast. Spotting a sudden movement, the sword demon desperately screams a warning. But the massive alligator ignores the damage, lunging forward and snatching Mirai. In its colossal grip, struggling to stand, the broken swordsman prays to his god. He is sorry, but there is simply no other choice. The beast squeezes Mirai ruthlessly. Creepy, tiny hands sprout from its massive palm, reaching out. For her, in desperation, Mirai can only think of her beloved master. Suddenly, Mina teleports in, unleashing her raw psychic powers. She commands the beast to release her sister. The massive alligator turns to face her, still clutching Mirai, realizing the legendary dragon seed has finally presented herself. However, her mental control fails entirely, and deep inside her bag, the mysterious case begins shaking violently. The young woman quickly flings the heavy backpack away, snapping that they are being too loud while her sister's life is on the line. She prepares another spell, but the beast's tail whips around instantly, barely missing her, though the massive shockwave sends her long hair flying wild. Before she can recover, the heavy tail coils tightly around her waist. Hoisting her into the air, the creature boasts that her sacrifice will begin soon. Completely ignoring her desperate struggles, Mina screams at him to let Mirai go. But the alligator simply prepares the ritual. Those grotesque, tiny hands creep closer to Mirai's face as she shivers in absolute terror. Sobbing hysterically, Mina begs for anyone to save her sister. With her last bit of breath, she shrieks out, calling for Ilshin's help. Far away, the young man is still lost in his pleasant dream, but the moment Mina screams his name, everything changes. He instantly senses a shift in the air. He feels he needs to go help them, but divine abundance warns that his divine power is not yet restored, leaving him vulnerable to the deadly apostle. But the young man knows he has to take action regardless of the danger. A hand reaches down for Mina's backpack on the ground while the girl screams the hero's name in desperation. Her panic spikes as she watches her sister getting hurt by the beast. The dark ritual is finally complete, and now the sacrifice must be offered, but then a blinding flash cuts the air. In the blink of an eye, a tail goes flying through the air, landing right in front of the creature. The beast screeches in agony over its severed tail as a figure emerges. Holding Miri, the beast is Gustaf, an apostle of the unknown god, active for 85 years and responsible for the double S rank harvest. Under a dark red glow, the protagonist stands holding the girl, repeatedly muttering that he wants to slice up a crocodile. Miri can barely recognize her own mentor. He gently places her safely on the ground, then walks toward the giant beast with a malicious grin. The giant alligator trembles at the mere sight of him, but it still charges anyway, calling him a sewer rat. Talk about a death wish. With agility, Ilshin easily dodges every single strike, and just as a massive fist is about to connect, he leaps into the air with a perfect flip to escape, laughing hysterically while gripping his small knife. Suddenly, the beast opens its massive jaws wide, and Ilshin falls straight toward its throat. However, he spins his body with blinding speed, slicing a deep gash right across the creature's snout, moving with a level of control that seems almost supernatural. Instantly, the monster snaps its massive jaws shut with everything it has, only to realize the strike did absolutely nothing. That is because the hero is standing right on top of its snout, casually licking his blade. He smiles like a maniac, whispering that he wants to cut everything. In a zigzag motion, the boy sprints across the giant alligator's back, his eyes glowing red. Meanwhile, the sword demon calmly watches the entire spectacle from a nearby pillar. The heavily wounded beast props itself up on the cold floor, looking completely exhausted from the relentless assault, but Ilshin simply raises his small knife, stating that the fight is far from over. The alligator stares back with its piercing yellow eyes, begrudgingly admitting that the human is incredibly strong, but declares that its true power has yet to be unleashed. Ilshin only smiles, noting that this is going to be a lot of fun. The monster growls that if the boy becomes its sacrifice, its god will be highly pleased. Its massive arm begins to swell with a sinister dark energy. Meanwhile, the protagonist raises his weapon and invites the beast to show its true power. Watching this, savior of eternity is disappointed that the boy uses blades instead of raw physical strength, while Soundless Nightmare cheers him on by waving carnivorous plants. Ilshin quickly realizes his bizarre followers are zero help, but when he focuses back on the battle, the monster has completely transformed. It is far smaller now, but looks incredibly bizarre and sinister. Casually picking his nose, the boy is entirely unimpressed by this ridiculous final form and charges forward, leaping high to strike. He strikes with a single swing of his small knife, but the blow causes zero damage. The young boy just cannot cut it. Absolute disgrace for a sword god. Refusing to give up, Ilshin immediately launches a relentless new assault, striking the black alligator in multiple spots, landing a furious, lightning-fast flurry of attacks. Dozens of cuts land, but in a split second, the monster grabs his arm. The beast sneers, claiming that a tiny sword cannot even scratch a dragon sent by God. Raising its massive free hand, the alligator lands a devastating punch on the young hero. He feels the heavy impact of the wound, throwing him back with crazy force. He flies backward and slams hard against the brick wall with a loud crash. The massive enemy slowly approaches the defeated Ilshin, who lies completely helpless on the ground. Without wasting any time, the alligator reaches down and grabs him by the head. Raising its other claw, the beast prepares to make its next move on its prey. It readies its claws to offer Ilshin as a sacrifice, but his eyes snap open. He desperately tries to react, as the foul claw is enveloped by a dark, creepy energy. The monster is ready to finish its duty. Meanwhile, Ilshin attempts to summon his pinky finger healing technique, but a system notification pops up. It warns that he lacks the necessary divine power to activate any of his skills. Left with zero options, he frantically searches for a way out while another warning appears. This warning states he is going to die unless he escapes this death trap. Red, urgent alerts flood his vision, desperately trying to warn him of the danger. One screen declares he is on the verge of death. Still, the alligator holds on. Squeezing his skull, the beast forces Ilshin to the brink. Are we about to lose him? Suddenly, a powerful warrior leaps out right behind the giant reptile. It is Hades arriving to protect his new master, but his effort is cut short. He gets heavily repelled by the alligator's punches and goes flying backward. Seeing this, Ilshin starts to regret ever becoming a god in the first place. The young god wishes he had ignored the tragedy. Meanwhile, Ilho screams for his master. And he also prays, begging her god to endure. Slowly, Ilshin begins to hear them. The sincere cries of his loyal followers echo around him, begging him to hold on. Even the sword demon apologizes, feeling deeply ashamed for being unable to help. But those tears and prayers are not in vain. His divine power begins to recover. However, the sacrificial hand is already inches away, releasing his current shared skills. In their place, two brand new skills manifest, and in this final split second, he reacts. Steadying his grip, he takes his knife and violently strikes the monster's hand. He slices the entire hand off, leaving the massive beast staring in absolute shock. It releases the young man, who immediately activates his skill share with the sword god, unleashing the ultimate skills of the demonic sword god. Meanwhile, outside, the director and Yuyun try desperately to break inside, but they have zero success. Choi grows annoyed as Korea's strongest S-class hunters gather at the scene. The redhead thinks a miracle is needed, but look at that, a massive fissure. Cracks open the dome, weakening the barrier so that Ilshin can start moving again. His energy recovers instantly as he begins making strange, highly erratic movements. Completely confusing the alligator, his gaze turns maniacal as he repeats his desire. His desire to cut down absolutely everything. He hurls razor-sharp fragments forward. They fly like deadly bullets, forcing the giant monster to defend itself. He admits to himself that this is incredibly dangerous. After a moment, the attacks suddenly stop. The giant alligator watches closely, tracking the boy's movements, then checks his scaly body to find no new wounds. He growls at his opponent, asking what he did. Ilshin calmly says he cut through everything, driving the giant mad. Get ready, because he lunges forward, preparing a devastating punch, but he suddenly feels something terribly wrong with his body. He feels like his waist is coming loose. A massive wound slices open the beast's belly, and both his shoulders slide completely off his arms. The monster roars in pure agony and fury as the protective barrier shatters with a blinding flash, detonating like a bomb. The alligator collapses to the ground, utterly defeated, as the beast tries to crawl away. He asks how a mere kid dared to do this, but looking into the boy's eyes, he senses something terrifying. It is as if the beast understands, in this exact moment, the true law of nature. It is as if Ilshin's face is bathed in a glowing halo. Suddenly, the beast realizes it is the first time it wants to flee from anyone. This is no ordinary opponent. He is looking at a majestic being. The monster's remaining arm begins turning to ash as Ilshin makes a single, sharp movement with his hand. Gold lightning crackles and surges all over his body. With that, our protagonist obliterates Gustav, the apostle of the god of destruction, securing an elite sacrifice worth 5 S-rank souls. After the battle ends, the exhausted boy drops to his knees. His mission to become a low-tier demon makes some progress. The director manages to rush over to Ilshin, shouting out his name. Panicked, the worried man yells that the boy cannot die, but the boy's arm just falls limply. Choi screams in absolute despair, while Yuyan realizes how grave this really is. Hades steps forward and quietly tells them that his master is merely sleeping. They are left deeply confused, but the hero is already entering another dream. This time, giant carnivorous plants surround him. He has entered the home of a creature known as the Soundless Nightmare, lying directly inside the mouth of a giant meat-eating flower. The monster speaks, saying that as long as his body is fully soaked in its thick saliva, no poison or curse can ever harm him. But the nightmare warns him that this is his last chance. The massive tongue begins to sweep him down. Ilshin begins to slide further into the beast's gaping throat, descending into the pitch-black flower. Suddenly, the boy gasps and wakes up as if escaping a terrible nightmare. Mina is right there, telling him he has been asleep for an entire week. In the hero's mind, it felt like ages. Much more time had passed. She leans in closer, asking if he is okay, saying it seemed like a bad dream. Suddenly, a system notification announces that son Mina's wish has come true, turning her into his official believer. She is incredibly strong, worth 2 S-class ranks on her own. This makes our hero incredibly excited. And check this out, another prompt suggests he ask for a kiss, teasing she might do it gladly. This makes Ilshin turn bright red, but out of nowhere, a massive creature pops up, ruining the vibe. The startled pair look over. Terrified, Mina clings tightly to him, crying out that she is scared. It is an offering from his loyal Aunt Ilho, a giant fish, wishing his great god eats well and recover quickly. Relieved, Ilshin realizes it is not a threat and wonders what Iho is doing. Hearing the noise, Choi goes to check what happened and enters, startled. Miri and the sword demon rush in right behind her. To lighten the mood, Ilshin asks what they think of having shark fin for lunch, using his crushing god's index finger to send the gigantic fish crashing outside. Choi and Miri stare at the enormous creature as he proudly explains it is completely fresh because he caught it himself. Later, inside classroom 33 of the academy, Ilshin is accompanied by his faithful follower, looking rather anxious. As he enters the room, the students gossip that this teacher is the association's secret weapon. He was the one who took down the double S class monster, while everyone else hid. But no matter how quietly they whisper, the young man hears everything. The sword demon suddenly slams his weapon onto the floor with all his might, demanding that everyone recognize the true greatness of the sword. God Mongji, the class president, instantly orders everyone to bow, and the class gives their teacher a deeply respectful greeting. Ilshin is moved, as this is the first time he has ever received a proper salute. After the clash with Gustav, the boy is relieved to see the kids are still in high spirits, so the teacher decides to start class, noting it has been a while since they last saw each other. Now they can have some self-study time because deep down the young man just wants to work on his web novel manuscript while they study. But seeing their disappointed faces, he quickly laughs it off as a joke and announces he will check on them one by one. The next student in line is a very large girl. The young woman sits down, ready for her turn, named Hojo. The student is 19 years old. She looks healthy on the outside, but inside her energy is completely distorted. Ilshin uses his counseling session for healing treatments. He does not seem like a typical physical education teacher. He asks the girl not to move and activates his healing pinky finger. A green energy immediately passes through the student's body at that very moment, feeling her Sensitivity surged twice as high as normal. Hojo asks how the teacher did that. But in truth, the young man only performed some minor healing on her blood, as he calls. The next in line, the young man's expression shifts, Miri and the sword. Demon beg for some counseling too, but Ilshin tells them they should be home. Training, the sword demon argues this, is completely different from schoolwork. And the teacher agrees, but since they are already here, Ilshin decides to give in. And asks who wants to start. The two fanatical believers immediately try to start. At the exact same time, sparking a jealous argument between the two of them. Trying to calm things down, Ilshin says he can treat both of them at the same time, but he suddenly notices a notification that a prayer from his devoted ants has arrived. The ants are all gathered praying, begging their God to save them because they are too weak to stop the enemy. In that same instant, other system notifications start popping up, all showing extreme danger levels. A truly critical situation is unfolding in Intria. An army of sinister creatures seems to be attacking. Monsters of all kinds are heading straight toward his faithful followers, including the apostle of the abyssal ruler. The first is a swamp apostle, sent by the goddess Arachne. Next is the apostle of power and deception, from that same goddess. An apostle of skyfire is also there, wielding some pretty terrible, raging flames. 3 great apostles. Ilshin is completely stunned to see them all here. Each one is way stronger than Gustav. If they fight, everyone dies. The entire ant colony will be totally wiped out, no survivors. Only 78 hours and a few minutes remain before they all arrive. Millions of lesser monsters are marching right behind them, absolute chaos. It feels like a giant truck is about to dump insecticide on them. He barely survived fighting just one guy. How can he protect anyone? As Ilshin goes dead silent, the sword demon and Mirai get worried. The incoming force is just too overwhelming. Hope is fading fast. Despair creeps in, but then he remembers his active god mission. A wild plan flashes through his mind, leaving his followers completely baffled. Mirai sighs, muttering that the kid has only been around for a week. Already losing his mind, still, that deity quest is active. To succeed, he desperately needs to gather a few more believers, fast. Later, Choi is in the cafeteria, aggressively stuffing his face with food. Looking like a hungry ogre, until Ilshin spots him after searching. Wearing a friendly smile, the boy slides into the chair right next to him. Choi keeps chewing in silence, then a sudden system screen pops up. It turns out the big man deeply respects him for saving his daughter. Seizing the moment, Ilshin leans in close to ask him for a quick favor. They whisper quietly. Choi listens with intense focus while continuing to eat. Suddenly, the big man roars with laughter, loudly agreeing to help out. Pure trust in the kid, even though the request sounds incredibly bizarre. Choi just shrugs and goes right back to devouring his lunch. His admirer status remains unchanged. Nearby, Mirai nudges her sister to eat. Stop staring, she tells Mina. Meanwhile, Ilshin stays locked on his goal. Advancing his deity quest is critical. Thanks to Mina, it is almost done. Only 4 more believers are needed to unlock his next god tier level. This mission must be finished, yet talking to Choi did not count. Why did it fail? Desperate, he asks Choi if he needs any help. That immediately makes Choi suspicious. He narrows his eyes and speaks up. Choi warns that no matter what, he will never let him near his daughter. The sisters easily overhear the whole thing. It is so awkward. Choi keeps loudly repeating that it will absolutely never happen. Not even if the world ends. Hearing this makes Mina pretty annoyed. Ilshin quickly tries to deny the accusation, but Choi suddenly snaps. Slamming his spoon onto the table, he asks if his daughter is not good enough. Is she not his type? After the wild outburst, he finally calms down. Clearing his throat, Choi shifts the topic to ask about his healing skills. Specifically, if he is using them on students. Here is his big chance. Ilshin explains that he used his power on Mina, helping her improve. Seeing his interest, the boy eagerly asks how he can help him too. The director lowers his head, his voice heavy with sadness as he asks if someone with so little time left to live can ever truly be cured. Just like that, an S-class quest appears, shocking Ilshin completely. The mission requires him to heal Choi's friend and prove his divine omnipotence. Hearing this, Ilshin becomes convinced that he must do this. He absolutely must succeed, insisting that they try to heal her right now. Meanwhile, at a massive high-security hospital, guards stand watch outside a private room. Inside, a pale woman with long white hair rests on a bed of flowers. Ilshin wonders if this is Choi's friend, surprised she still looks so young. The director asks what he is staring at, noticing his obvious confusion. Choi explains that Miracle does not age, only her hair has gone white. She is more than a simple friend, having stayed by his side his entire life. As a true heroine, she saved South Korea with her future predictions. Suddenly, a strange energy begins flowing from the young woman's body. Ilshin realizes the energy is actually coming from the surrounding flowers. Choi explains that she absorbs flower life force just to stay alive. Countless master healers have tried to save her, but all have failed. Looking closely at her quiet form, Ilshin calmly promises that he will try. A notification reveals her name is Lee Myra, currently kept in stasis. This preserves her fading life force, but Ilshin cannot inspect her age. That has never happened before. Suddenly, a gentle voice echoes in his head. The voice notes that it is not very gentlemanly to ask a lady's age. Choi realizes that Ilshin is being pulled directly into her mental space. Placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder, the director wishes him luck. Ilshin is immediately transported to a breathtaking garden where Miracle sits smiling. She warmly greets her new visitor. He wonders if this is a dream. However, he quickly senses that this beautiful space is entirely real. He can feel a raw power far stronger than Mina's abilities. He walks closer, asking if her real name is indeed Lee Myra. She confirms it with a warm smile, already knowing exactly who he is. She calls him the Chosen One, though her premonitions painted a darker picture. He was supposed to be the incarnation of evil, not some nerdy guy. Ilshin is not quite sure if that was an insult or praise. She confesses that she is ready to give up her life to escape. Miracle explains she is trapped here because her physical body is almost dead. But she still wanted to meet him, inviting him to her mind. Now the young man asks her to send him back to heal her body. Time is running out fast, and our hero has only 68 hours left to succeed. Miracle smiles, calling it impossible, but she wants him to try anyway. His potential is immense, so she invites him to unleash his skill. Curious about his true limits, the young man decides to test his divine powers. He activates the ring finger of the healing god, wrapping her in light. Vibrant green energy surges as the system calculates the causality of healing. But a sudden warning screen appears, announcing that the healing attempt has failed. She cannot be cured with his current divine power, leaving him deeply disappointed. He realizes what is happening as Miracle's feet touch the ground again, and the green energy slowly begins to leave her body if the young man lacks enough divine power. This healing mission will end in failure. Miracle slowly starts to open her eyes, but she immediately collapses to her knees, looking up at Ilshin with a warm, friendly smile. She says she truly believes in him, though Miracle is young and lacks her own god. She risks her entire fate by trusting him. Just like that, Lee Myra becomes his fifth believer, pushing his mission further. Even though it is sudden, the young man is thrilled with the progress. Miracle tells him she knows that if he can keep on saving small worlds, he will eventually be able to save her own world too. Ilshin wonders if she is actually talking about Entria. Smiling warmly, she says she will happily wait for the day he is ready. Then Miracle's body starts to fade away as she whispers that the solution is already incredibly close. She vanishes completely, leaving him anxious. Right after, Lemmy's new ability is unlocked, called Promontory Dream. In other words, he has just gained the rare power to foresee the future, but because he lacks sufficient divine power right now, he cannot activate it. Slowly, the boy feels himself snapping back to reality, realizing his physical body is right where it was. Slumped beside Miracle's bed, he finally wakes up, stepping closer. Choi asks if he is doing okay, while Ilshin sweats, remembering those parting words. Meanwhile, over at the Academy Gymnasium, Hades is casually playing basketball with some other students. Our hero is on the phone, realizing that the principal's mission was an absolute failure, so he decides to scour the nearby areas and requests they deliver all his required items. By tomorrow, his entire teaching salary is completely drained by rent and his massive loans. Looking up, Ilshin spots the sword demon making some rather strange movements. It looks like he is training hard with his weapon. The sword he bought from that Chungam swindler is incredibly solid and heavy. He paid 20 million coins just to push this sword demon to S-class. Plus, he received a secret manual as a reward containing the essence of Jang Sambang. But the demon explained that this elegant style does not fit his combat method, which relies purely on raw power. He politely declined, leaving our main character totally empty-handed, but now his loyal follower is practicing like a beast. He swings that massive, heavy sword with a single hand and with complete ease. Nearby, someone is watching him with pure admiration. It is Myeongji, who seems totally distracted from her game, her eyes sparkling as she stares at him. The demon tells her to stop staring and just come over here. She asks if he wants her to fetch him some water, but he explains he was actually speaking to the person standing behind her. Talk about awkward. She looks utterly crushed. Hades finds this behavior incredibly rude and asks if the demon needs a lesson in manners, pointing directly at him. The demon snaps back that today is going to be different, promising to crush him. Ilshin watches this with deep interest, knowing it is almost impossible for an A-class to defeat an S-class opponent, but the sword demon can reach S-class status. Once he faces defeat against Hades, maybe his ultimate solution lies within this very demon. Right after that, the two followers start throwing hands on the spot. The sword demon has already pushed the heavenly demon's divine style to its absolute limit. With a massive vertical strike, the young man unleashes every bit of his strength. He holds his aggressive stance completely blind to his opponent, but a sudden blow to the back of his neck catches him completely off guard. Hades notes the attack was clever, but still far from enough to drop him. Frustrated, the young man vows he'll get him next time, but immediately declaring he'll still get him, the young man collapses. Hades catches him over his shoulder and promises that the kid will catch up to him soon, assuming he is still alive then. He decides to carry the unconscious sword demon straight to the infirmary. Myeongji scrambles after them, begging him to wait up so she can tag along. Meanwhile, Ilshin realizes that the sword demon will definitely reach S-class eventually. The real issue is knowing when. He takes another swig of his drink, just as a system notification pops up. The screen reveals that his Godmaker assimilation rate has slightly ticked up, granting a small boost to Ilshin's stats. Honestly, he must have chugged around 2,000 bottles of this potion by now, and yet it only went up by 1%. Over on the other side, Mina is deeply focused, channeling her skill into her sister. She is pouring everything into breaking Miri's seal, but the intense process seems to be causing the poor girl agonizing pain. Both sisters are pushing past their absolute physical limits just to keep the procedure going. Eventually, Mina collapses from sheer exhaustion, wiping away her sweat. She reassures them that everything is okay, but Ilshin begins to suspect that their ultimate breakthrough might not be the sword demon, but Miri instead. The second the young master approaches, Mina suddenly recalls the private conversation she overheard between him and the director. She instantly gets irritated and huffs, turning her face away. When Ilshin gently asks what is bothering her, she snaps at him to stop calling her young lady and just address her as Mina. Sensing that things are about to get incredibly awkward, Ilshin decides to bribe her with a sweet treat, and her sour attitude instantly vanishes. She happily dashes off to grab the lollipop. While this happens, the quest from the lower-tier deity keeps ticking. If both Miri and the sword demon hit S-class, Ilshin will have secured exactly 10 S-class followers, but time is incredibly tight. He only has 48 hours left. Because of this, the master summons his disciple Miri. He tells her he needs to step out for a bit, instructing her to look after the sword demon the moment he wakes up. Ilshin explains that he has an incredibly critical matter to attend to. Naturally, the curious girl asks what could be so urgent. With a smug grin, he tells her he needs to take a nap. He strolls over to his bed, stretching his arms, when suddenly he spots a familiar sword hilt resting on his path. It is the heavenly sword itself. The perfect solution that Miri mentioned is right before his eyes. He begins to smooth out his bedsheets, deciding to undergo a hellish training routine with the dream chasers. Since time flows much slower in the dream realm, those 48 hours can turn into over 3 months of solid training. Soon, Ilshin is transported straight to the temple of the heavenly sword. An incredibly imposing figure sits on his grand throne. Ilshin knows this is the domain of the supreme blade that cleaves all things, and this is his very first time meeting him face to face. He stares back with absolute determination and focus. He remembers nearly blacking out when they first encountered, but that does not matter now. He has officially entrusted the heavenly sword with fixing his own broken blade. This weapon shattered during the battle against Gustav. The heavenly sword replies that the blade needs more time before the great god can lend him a new weapon. He must pay 1 million coins. The price is way higher than before, and the man says he needs insurance in case the sword gets destroyed. With no other choice, the boy decides to pay the agreed price. He gets a bit suspicious that the heavenly sword is stalling on repairs just to squeeze more cash out of him. Right after paying, a rift tears through the wall. A brilliant